living in a
school.
ranch in Ralston.
Yeah.
And just happened, your mom just happened to go to Pawhuska?
Well, no, she went there on purpose to have
Oh,
a baby.
okay.
You know, 'cause, there wasn't any real hospitals, you know, to speak of.
Right.
Anywhere. So she went to Grandpa's house and had me there at his house in Pawhuska.
Yeah, cool.
But like I said, we went back to the ranch and stayed there the last 5 years old.
Okay, and what was
Then we moved to Colorado when my Aunt Genevieve, my dad's sister, lived in Longmont at that time. So we moved to Longmont too, and set up housekeeping there. And then me and Nick started school right there, and then Sally later.
right?
But anyway, I started school when I was 5 years old.
But you were
And
only
Nick and I was in the same grade. But
So
then,
you started early?
yeah,
Oh.
and then but Nick was 1 year older than me, and I was giving him such a hard time in the classroom that sister decided I should be held back a year and let Nick go on and get in another room, you know. So
Because you were holding him up?
I was embarrassing the hell out of him every day, you know, about my little antics.
Like what?
Well, like we had button shoes at that time,
Uh-huh.
and I never did carry a button hook, and Nick did. So sister would get me up in front of the room and say, Nick, let's bring your button hook up here and so Ed can fasten his shoes. He'd hang his and hand me that button hook, you know. But it was something like that every day. And one day somebody brought apple to a teacher, to
Uh-huh.
a sister. So I went over and asked her if I could eat it. And she said, yeah, you can eat it if you stand right here in the room and eat it.
Right.
So I stood right there by her desk and ate the whole damn thing. Oh, Nick was right hanging his head again. It's just stuff like that, you know, every day something.
He's
And-
just a couple of years older than you? Just
yeah,
1 year
well, he's
older?
1 year older than
Just
me.
1 year
So
older.
anyway, we was both in the third grade. And so sister decided by that time, said, poor Nick had had enough. So she said, well, we'll hold Edward back 1 year and let Nick go on and give him another room so he can have a little better chance at education. You know?
So you did what? You repeated the third
I
grade?
preached the third grade, yeah.
Oh.
So anyway, everything was fine. Nick was happy then. And anyway, I finished the fourth grade. And then that's when we pulled out Longmont and moved up to Wyoming.
And that's the story you were talking about. You
Yeah,
left in
that
the
was the
middle
story
of
I
the
was telling yesterday about going up there and living with Uncle Ed for the summer, and then moving over to Buffalo and going up in the mountains and starting a little ranger school. And I was in fifth grade, Nick was in sixth, and Sarah Jane was in she was 2 grades behind me, I think. Or, yeah, 1 grade behind me.
Well,
Anyway, she was in the fourth, and little brother Jack had been born by that time, and he was in the first grade.
But tell that story again about how you had to take off in the middle of the night.
Oh, well, Dad and Mama, when the payments went down, you know, during the Depression, after 1929, or 28, it started coming down before that. So Dad and them was in so much debt around town, they decided to just pack up and leave.
What was your dad doing?
Well, not much of anything, see, he was living on a payment. It was enough at that time where we could survive on it.
Oh, the Osage Nation payment.
Yeah.
That was it?
That was it.
Oh, man.
And so then, when the payment started going down, he did get a job working in a auto paint shop
Uh-huh.
up there. But that was right at the last, towards the last, it didn't last very long. And then he decided he was so deep in debt, he better just get out of there, you know, so he left. And we moved up to Wyoming, from Uncle Ed's Matheson's place out in eastern Wyoming, and stayed with him all summer. And then moved up to Buffalo about the time fall come in, and we went up to the mountains in that cabin that my friends, Dad's friends had.
So you lived in
Stayed up there in the mountains and had a ball for a couple of weeks, you know, and then it was time for to go to school. So, like I said, the snow hadn't come yet, so we went to the ranger school there. It was about a mile down the road from this cabin.
Uh-huh.
And there were 7 of us kids in the school, but the teacher was only one teacher. She taught 8 grades. But the oldest girl of the Rangers was in the 8th grade, and Nick was in the 6th, I was in the 5th. There wasn't anybody in the 7th grade. And then they had 2 kids, Jack and this Rangers kid was in the 1st grade. Sarah James was in the 4th.
And this is the whole school?
That was the whole school.
One teacher?
7 kids and 1 teacher, yeah. And just happened the teacher's name was Sarah Jane.
Oh, you're kidding?
Just like Aunt Sally, yeah. And,
So you're
So
up
we
in the
went there-
mountains in
we went there
Buffalo,
for-
Wyoming?
no, just above Buffalo, yeah, in the Teton Mountains. And so anyway, the snow came about a week after the school started.
Uh-huh.
So I decided to better get back down out of the mountains, you know. So, we pulled up stakes and went back down to the little town of Buffalo at the base of the mountain there, in the foothills. And we started school there and went to Thanksgiving. This is 1928. And at Thanksgiving, we went home back down to Greeley, Colorado for Aunt Juanita and his husband worked at a little dairy farm outside on the south.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh, yeah, I know where the
so
South is.
we stayed there until from Thanksgiving to the Christmas holidays. We went to school in that little country school there in the south. And
So just about a month there.
just from Thanksgiving to Christmas. And then we pulled up stakes again and moved it back to Huska. And we got into Huska New Year's Eve night, between 28 and 1929.
The end of
And
1928.
then end of 28. So anyway, then we stayed in the hotel that night, and so of course my grandmother was real sick.
And the kids give me,
So
you know,
we
like
decided
Cheryl,
we didn't do much of anything, just go down and see grandma until she died at the end of January.
And she was living there for Huskers?
Well, no, she was when we first got there, but then we moved her down to little town of Wyoming, which is 11 miles south of Husker, where my aunt Alice Jacobs lived. It's my grandma's brother and his wife. So moved down there and she could take care of grandma. But she's bedridden. But she only lasted a little while. Like I said, she died the 29th of January of 29. So anyway, we decided by that time we had to go to school after Christmas, you know.
Uh-huh.
So we moved out to this little ranch house outside of Husker there, about 5 miles south. And we went to school in Husker, you know, in the Catholic school,
Now,
in the
this,
5th grade.
this time, all of your boys, is Bill,
Well, Bill's more too. Well, let's
he's
see.
still just little?
Let's see, he was born in 25, so he wasn't in school yet. See, in 29, he
Okay.
didn't start school until 30.
Right, okay, so he's still just little.
He's 30 or 31, he started school. But anyway, this is 1929, so Bill wasn't ready for school yet. Just Jack was the youngest one
Right.
going to school. But there were 4 of us, me and Nick, and Sally, and Jack.
Right.
Was all going, we went to Catholic school.
So what'd
And,
you do when you were
They
hanging
commuted
around?
from the ranch house, you know, there.
Right.
And then they decided to move back to town after a while.
It's in Bobby's house.
And like Dad said, but during the Depression, every time the rent come due, we'd move, you know. But somewhere else in town. So, but we always went to Catholic school. I don't know how he ever paid them. I don't think he did. I don't think he ever got the school paid up. Well, it was tuition, you know, because he had 4 kids at school.
Was he doing anything for work by this time, or
No,
was he
I was just trying to.
still just getting the payments?
So payments, yeah, but they was down to, hell, that $75, which is about $25 a month, you know. He charged to raise 5 kids on $25 a month.
$25 a month?
I don't
is
care
all-
how cheap things are, it's kinda hard to live, yeah. So anyway, we did a lot of things during the Depression, but he did, I don't know if he, I don't remember him trying to do any work at all until, let's see, about the 30s, 33, I think, he started working up the agency. And he got in teaching, Red Cross, safety.
Teaching Red Cross safety at the Osage
At the Osage
Agency?
Agency, he got a lot of workers up there.
Okay,
That's when, you know, they started all them programs during the Depression, and they had what they called CCCID, which was a Civilian Construction Corporation, which they formed during the Depression to give people jobs and also do stuff for the landscape. You know, they built dams, planted trees, and stuff
kinda
like
like
that.
the Tennessee Valley Authority.
Yeah, but it was for, and then they put also give them a little bit of military training too. And so anyway, Dad worked up there doing that in the agency.
Artwork.
As a teenager
Yeah,
around
growing up.
Husker.
Well, actually, after he got back to Huska, things were pretty mild down in Longmont. Sort of pulled everything, you know, as in the honorary category, because as we was just at age where, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old.
Uh-huh.
And so we was getting pretty honored at that time. By the time we got back to Huska, things had settled down. Besides, you know, the depression was on full force, and
Right.
there wasn't any money to be had, and very little food, you know.
And a whole lot of
Things
things
were
you
pretty
wanted to get in
hard,
trouble
so-
with, was there?
Well, we was out just climbing trees and you know, making our own entertainment. Because
Uh-huh.
we didn't have any TV, no computer, no nothing, you know, inside, so we was all outside. But I think it was a good thing for us now because it made us a lot healthier now
Right.
since we was doing active things when we was kids all the time.
Was it just your family, or were you living with somebody else?
No, just had our family.
Okay.
We always lived in one family.
So what, you'd sort of say what kind of work your dad and mom went out and got?
Yeah, well, Dad worked with this agency, teaching safety for the American Red Cross safety program.
Right.
And he taught it to all the workers up there in the agency. So he did that, and then Mama Then he also got into Sea Scouts, and he was a Sea Scout, Scoutmaster.
Oh,
And,
Sea Scouts in
Sea
Oklahoma?
Scout. Yeah, yeah. Had a chapter there in Pulaski, so he was a Sea Scout master. So he did that, and plus working for the agency, and then Mama went to work for this flower shop, designing flower arrangements and stuff. You know, just
Tell me about your
part-time.
mom. I don't know anything about
Well,
your mom.
Mom was a real fun-loving Irishman, you know. And she's Scotch-Irish, which means that the Irishman live close to the Scottish border, I think is all it means. But her folks come from Ireland. And,
Her parents
her-
immigrated from Ireland?
well, I know the Matheson part did, and I'm not sure about the Boyer.
Uh-huh.
Her dad's name was Boyer, so Mom was a Boyer.
Right.
But her mother was a Matheson, and I know they come from Ireland. Anyway, Mom was quite a bit Scotch-Irish,
Okay.
mostly.
Okay.
I don't know what Grandpa Boyer was. Anyway, he's probably English.
Uh-huh.
So anyhow, Mama was a very fun-loving person, who loved the kids dearly, you know.
Uh-huh.
So we never was any doubt about that. We knew we was loved at home.
Okay.
But we also had discipline, you know, strict.
From her or from your dad or both?
From her mainly.
Oh, really?
Dad never did get riled up too much, you know. He's old age. He took things as they come. Just
Pretty easy
go
going.
with the flow, you know. And
Right.
Mama was ready with the belt or the switch. She made us go get her own switch.
Oh.
When we do something wrong, you know, spank us on the legs.
Uh-huh.
Sting, oh boy,
So you had to
sting.
go-
If we didn't get the right switch first time, we'd have to go back and get another one. Well, suited her, you know.
Oh, she's tough.
Oh, tough, anyway. And, well, this one time, I had one of these little leather helmets, you know, when I was a little kid.
Uh-huh.
I had those metal buckles that fasten under the chin.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And she's always telling me to take it off in the house, you know. Well, every time I come to the house, I forget. So this one time I come through the kitchen, I still had my helmet on. As I went by her, she just reached down and grabbed the top of that helmet, lifted it off my head and come back like this with that damn strap. Well, it come back and hit me right behind the ear. And I still got a hole back there. It cracked just like a rifle shot. Man, it scared the heck out of her. But anyway, so quick and so fast, it shocked the hell out of me too, you know, tried to hurt me.
How old were you then?
I see, I was about 8, I think.
Oh, man.
Boy, it really got my attention, I think.
And what was this helmet for? You just-
They're just, well, it's just a helmet you wear in the wintertime, you know, that ear flaps, and you buckle it under your chin.
So she-
So she just lifted up and whack, go right across the head. That flap come back on this side of my head and hit me right behind the ear. Yeah, that bone right back there, you know. I it just cracked like a rifle shot. Man, it scared the heck out of her and shocked me to death. But anyway, so we got over that all right.
What you and your
But-
brother?
But then one time I come back from, I'd been someplace and Nick had a bunch of kids in the yard there. And so when I come up to the travel, he said, Ed said, you want to go smoke a cigarette? I said, well, what's the name here? He's got some cigarettes. I said, yeah, let's go, you know. He and I, the kid and I went back behind the garage. So as soon as we got behind the garage, Nick went in the house and told Mom I was out there smoking. Damn rat. He's the one that got me into it, then went and told Mom.
Set you up.
Yeah, I really did. So anyway, Mom whipped me again. I didn't smoke too much for a while, you know, because I kept stealing Dad's cigarettes and smoking them once in a while. Even when I was a little bitty kid, you know.
So your dad smoked?
Oh yeah, even Mom both smoked. He smoked Camels, she smoked Lucky Strikes. And they smoked, but anyway, then one day Dad decided to teach us kids, you know, smoking ain't too good for you, so he got us in the living room, sit down in the middle of the floor and got a cigar. Said,
Uh-huh.
okay, if you guys want to smoke, said, here, smoke this, and just pass it around, you know. So he had a bunch of sick kids on his hands.
And this is who all of you?
Oh, just some friends of ours and me and Nick.
You and Nick and your buddies?
All our little buddies, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so he said, you guys just go ahead and smoke that cigar. So we passed it around till boy almost got sick in the hell. Kicked their guts out, you know. So we didn't smoke for a while. And then, another time, Dad used to party a lot, you know, when he had the money.
Uh-huh.
Just before the Depression hit.
Okay.
So anyway, across the street from us lived a preacher and his family. We lived on the corner, they lived on the other corner.
Right.
So anyway, one New Year's Eve, Dad was having a big party, you know, all his friends and everything. They were doing a lot of drinking and everything. So at midnight, Dad decided he'd go outside and shoot off his shotgun, you know, just to bring in the new year.
Okay.
So he took it out there and fired that thing in the air. When he did, the preacher fell out of the tree. He'd been up there looking through the transom at the party going on, you know. When Dad fired the shotgun, boy, he go followed out of that tree, and got up, ran like hell across the street. Oh, they got a big kick out of that, of course.
Quit spying on your
Yeah,
buddies
he's not
after
spying
that.
after that. He didn't do that anymore. But anyway, life was a lot of fun when I was growing up as a kid.
What was
And
your,
like I said, was always just climbing trees and running here and there and playing.
keeping us up in
We played a lot of marbles a lot in the summertime, you know. Got front of the street. We had dirt streets, and we just make our marble playground out there right by the curb.
Was there other kids around?
Oh yeah, a lot of kids around there.
Okay.
Everybody had kids. And
Everybody
so we had a neighborhood full of kids, and hell, we all, most of us in our yard most of the time.
Uh-huh. Did
And,
you play with your siblings, or
Huh?
did you play with your brothers and sisters?
Oh yeah, that was all. We were all one big bunch. Well, Sally didn't play too much with us, but she was playing girl stuff, you know. But the boys all got together. Me and Nick, and of course Jack and Bill was too little. They were born in Longmont at the hospital there, the
So
old hospital.
they were quite a bit younger than you. So
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
played mainly with Nick.
Well, Jack is 5 years younger than me, and Bill 7 years younger than me.
Right. So it's just you and Nick. And
Yeah,
your
just me and Nick and Sally, man. Sally was a girl, so she played with the girls.
Going out
And
here.
just Nick and I, we grew up together. We were 3 years apart. You know, he's born.
Going out and getting in
No, 1
trouble.
year apart. Excuse
Yeah.
me. I was thinking about Stan and Bill 3 years apart.
Yeah.
Me and Nick just 1 year apart. 1 year,
Yeah,
year and a
you-
month.
and you're pretty close. What was your house like there?
Well, we lived in 3 different houses there in Longmont when we first moved up there. We just rented a couple houses until we found this one to buy.
Uh-huh.
And that's when we moved on that one on the corner. But we just lived very little while in those 2 red houses. Seemed to me like it wasn't very long. And then we moved in this one, lived in it most of the time, the one on the corner.
Uh-huh.
It was really great. It was a 2-story brick house. It was the first house in Longmont to have indoor plumbing. Some doctor built it.
How'd you score such a good house?
I don't know. They found it on the market and they were able to buy it. Anyway, we got it. And Nick and I had a bedroom in our own upstairs. They had 2 bedrooms upstairs and a bathroom. And, well, a kind of third little room where the roof come down was kind of attic type of room.
Uh-huh.
So we used that for storage. But they had 2 big bedrooms. And then out on the one bedroom had a sun porch goes out. There's upstairs, you know, and real nice. And go out there and sit and get a suntan or something.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of trees in the yard. Some black walnut trees, I remember, 2 or 3 of them. And some other trees.
Good trees for climbing.
Yeah, good trees for climbing. Anyway, then Nick and I had a bedroom. We'd go out and crawl from our bedroom window over to the sun porch, just about 6 feet, you know. But there was a little row of bricks stuck out about that far below the window and a row thing above the window. So we'd put our feet on one ridge and hang our fingers on the other ridge and scoot across over until we got on the sun porch. I was right in the middle of that trip one day when Mama come out around the corner and saw me up there. She about died, yeah. I was hanging on the wall, you know, my fingertips. Jeez.
Of course, you'd done it 100
Oh,
times,
man.
and she never did it.
She called Daddy, wanted him to see the whole damn thing, you know. Scared me to death, because I knew I was going to get a beating. So now I was hanging there over that damn ground, or hard ground out there anyway, and I wanted to get off to the sun porch, get my feet on something I could stand on. But anyway, I finally made it. But we used to do it all the time, till Mama caught us. And we didn't do that anymore either.
You had to go cut another switch?
Yeah, then we'd sit up there at night when we were supposed to be in bed and had our BB gun.
Uh-huh.
We'd take a whole box full of matches and shoot them out on the sidewalk and watch them light. You know.
You would,
The big old kitchen matches.
you'd shoot a wooden kitchen match
Out
with
of
a BB gun,
BB gun, yeah. Yeah, fit down the barrel.
and it would hit the sidewalk and light.
Yeah. Shoot down the sidewalk and light the match. We'd sit up there, light a whole box full of matches. Brother. Next morning, there'd be a whole bunch of burnt matches out there all on the sidewalk there.
And
The grass.
you're doing all this from the sun porch.
Oh, yeah, just from our bedroom window.
Oh,
Yeah, from the bedroom window, yeah.
what did
We
you,
thought it was a lot of fun. But anyway,
so then you're off to high school.
we had a lot of fun in that house. And then we went off to Colorado, you know, like I said,
Uh-huh.
pulled out in the middle of the night. Left that all behind, furniture on, and spent the summer out on the eastern Wyoming, which is all prairie, you know.
Oh,
We had a
yeah.
lot of fun being that age, 10 years old, got that ball, doing anything.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't make no-
What was your home like in Pawhuska after, later on when you were getting ready for high school?
Well, when we got back to Huska, I was still in the 5th grade, started after Christmas.
Uh-huh.
So I finished the 8th grade in the Catholic school there. And then went to high school in 1932, started high school. But, well, it was pretty calm, like I said, we didn't have any money to do anything with, so I just go home and play around the house and, do what little stuff I could do. This friend of mine had a car, so once in a while I'd go with him, somewhere. And he had the money because his dad owned a tire store.
Uh-huh.
And so finally, after about my senior year, I guess, I got a job at a tire station right across the street from his, he had a tire shop over there.
This is in Pawhuska?
Yeah, right, that's it.
Okay.
So I worked over there just to earn a little money, and everything. Then he and I bought an old Austin Roadster together, paid $50 for it.
You
Got
and
the
your
money.
buddy
Yeah, me and my buddy.
went in on a car.
Yeah. Well, we was classmates from the 5th grade on.
Uh-huh.
And went to go together and everything. So we was great buddies all the time. But anyway, we bought this car together, drove it all over Osage County, and had a great time with it. So finally, some guy wanted to buy it from us. So he thought, well, we've had enough out of that, so we sold it to him. $50 just wasn't paid for it.
Oh,
And then, I say, me and Andrew Terry and a cousin of mine, we bought a Model A, or a Model T. And paid $15 for that.
15?
Yeah. And so we drove it around for a week all over the county, and the clutches started slipping on it.
Uh-huh.
We were supposed to tighten the bands on the clutch. Well, we started the hood, the top of the hood, took it off, and then the top of the engine went through every nut and bolt all the way to the ground, took everything out, trying to find the clutch. Had that part scattered all over our backyard, boy, God, not one bolt hadn't been taken loose, So anyway, we didn't know what they'll do with them, they're scattered all over the place. Well, this guy come walking down the alley one day and said, "You guys own that car?" I said, "Yeah, we own it." He said, "I'll give you $15 for it, just like it sits." He said, "Fine, take it." Because we hadn't been paid for it yet, so we took $50, went over and paid the guy we bought it from. We had it the whole week.
You had that car a week?
Yeah.
Had torn it apart and then
Thrown it apart, boy, trying to fix the clutch. And a real simple deal, just tighten the band, what you gotta do.
Right.
We tore the engine completely apart, trying to find the clutch. See how smart we were, boy, I tell you. But anyway, that was the end of that deal.
You were willing to tear into it.
And, but anyway, like I said, we just go out, we camp out on the creek sometimes, me and another buddy,
Uh-huh.
during the summer. We go out there and stay a week, just on the creek, mate.
No
And
tent, no
camp
bedroll?
out, camp out, just go swimming, do what we want to do, run up and down the road or whatever,
Okay.
Because we did, like I said, we didn't have any money. Everybody broke
Right.
during the Depression.
Right.
So like I said, they just made their own fun,
And this is when you're in high school, right? You
Yeah,
just about ready
this
to
high school,
graduate?
yeah.
Okay.
And, well, earlier than that, when I was still in elementary school, we built our own skateboards. We'd take a 2x4, about a couple feet long, and then take an old pair of skates
Uh-huh.
and split them apart, put the front wheels on the front and the back wheels on the back. Nail them down, some old nails,
Uh-huh.
and then put a handle, nail a handle on the front of the 2x4.
Oh, like a scooter.
The scooter.
Yeah.
And just, we scoot that around all over town with that thing, just like that. Or we'd get a big old truck tire and roll it all over town everywhere we went. We'd roll that truck tire in front of us. And then we had a little, little wheels, had the metal ring around them, a lot of wagon wheels all the time.
Right.
We'd get those little metal rings,
Like a rim.
a rim.
Yeah.
And we'd take a stick with a cross bar end of it, and we'd wheel that damn little rim all over town. Wherever you went, everybody had their ring and their stick, and you went with it.
All
Boy.
the kids, huh?
Yeah, that was your scary boy. Just wheel that little ring all over town.
And you got nowhere to go.
No,
You got no money.
usually we'd run there where we went anyway.
Okay.
We was always running, and we had to walk all the way across town to go to school. And we'd sometimes walk back home for lunch and then walk back all the way across the bus, from the west side to the east side to go to school. And so, like I said, all the time, the thing we did was do an exercise. We was running, running, jumping,
Right.
playing ball, something. It was always active.
Did you carry
Sit down.
any money in your pocket?
Never had money, didn't
Not even a nickel.
we made our own entertainment, you know, climb trees, do what we want to. We just had fun. Go out on the creek bank, you know, go swimming. But, everywhere we did, you walked, you know, or run or
Right.
something.
Right.
But, like I said, nobody had any money anyway. So, but we didn't really think we was denying anything, we was all having a good time.
Right.
Even though food was a little scarce, you know, a lot of time.
And when you were, by the time you were in high school,
Well, in high school,
were you still hanging around with Nick, or?
oh, well, no, Nick
But-
had started, he had his own buddies and I had mine at that time.
Yeah,
And, see, he was great ahead of me.
and, of course, you still didn't pay much attention to your younger brothers.
No, they took care of themselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Sally and B were good friends all through high school.
Oh, that's
They were
right.
best friends.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And, so, either B was at our house or she was at B's house. And when B's mama would make her dress, she'd make one for Sally too.
Oh, you're kidding?
So they went around dressed like twins a lot of times.
So they were really close.
Oh yeah, real close, all through high school. In fact, they're still close, communicate.
Uh-huh.
They're still best friends. But anyway, we had our own buddies and just taking our own equipment. Like I said, I didn't have any money until right at the last one, I went to work that thing. And then after I got out of high school, I went back for 1 year at junior college there because I started at junior college in the high school building.
And this is
Just
what?
as a test.
This is when?
That was 1936 and 37.
Okay,
School year 36, 37, I was in junior college.
okay,
And so after I got out of that last year, well, I went to work at the grocery store while I was going to college. Because I'd go to school in the morning and I'd work at the grocery store in the afternoon. And
so the
so I
economy
made a little
sort
money
of-
that way, too, little spending money,
Yeah.
very little.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
anyway, after I got out of high school, then I went to Europe on that trip, you know, because Aunt Biddy.
What happened?
Aunt Biddy was married to a vice president of a steamship company in New Orleans.
Okay,
So, anyway, his family owned the steamship company. He was a Lights. His mother was a Lights. And so, this boy, he was a vice president of the company that had in New Orleans office. So, Aunt Biddy arranged for Nick to go on one of the trips. They had a program with the company that they called Workaways. And it was designed for people that use their ships for shipping stuff for their sons to set up and do in the summertime.
oh, okay.
They'd hire him on his workaways, pay him $1 a month,
Like an
and
intern.
they'd go on trips on these boats, you know, to foreign countries and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But they'd just take up the summer. And so Nick got in 1935 when he graduated high school, and Biddy got him a slot on one of their ships out of New Orleans. And he went to France and Germany, and France and Belgium and Holland. And so next year in 36, when I got out of high school, she did the same thing for me. She got me a slot on one of those ships. And so we rode the bus down to New Orleans, and Aunt Biddy took us from there, you know. So we stayed with her until the boat left. And then Uncle Solon, his name's Solon Terman, he gave me $100 to spend on the trip, you know, because I didn't have any money.
Right,
And I was going over broke. You know, but I had a passage, that was it.
okay,
But see, we worked, when we was on the ship and on the water, we worked as part of the crew.
okay.
We worked with chipping rust and painting and stuff like that.
Right.
Then when we got in port, we were treated like passengers, and we could go and do what we wanted, as long as the ship was in port.
Cool, and how long did this go on?
Well, every summer, the ship did for different people.
No, I mean the one that you were on.
Oh, I was on a lot, it was all during July and August of
So for like 2 months.
36, 2 months.
And you
See,
went
the
where?
trip over took 3 weeks, and the trip back took 3 weeks, so most of the summer was on the water.
Right.
But we had a week in Europe, so I just got to go to France and Belgium and visit them, and then I went back on the boat.
So what'd you do in France and Belgium?
Well, went down and went over to town, spent the night in Rouen, a little town just between Le Havre and Paris. Spent the night there. We rode the train all the way, but we got off in Rouen and spent the night, and it just happened to be the town where Joan of Arc was held captive and burned at the stake.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of history, you know, a lot of history all over France anyway. But anyway, we went down and looked at all the cathedrals and the tower where Joan of Arc was held, and just kind of looked around the shops and stuff. Spent the night, and the next morning got back on the train and went on to Paris.
So about this time you're about 19.
I was 18.
Yeah.
But see, before I left New Orleans, I'd gone down to the French consulate because I had to get a visa
Right.
for them. And they gave me a ticket where I could buy a train ticket and get real cheap, you know. But I had to stay in Paris 3 days
Okay.
to get this benefit.
Okay.
So anyway, we took it, and then, so we stayed in Paris 3 days.
You decided it was time to go in the military.
Yeah, I decided this time to go to the military, and I wanted to go to pilot training, but like I said, this fast-talking recruiting sergeant said I'd had to go to the infantry first
You
before I
know,
could get in the Air Force.
David was
And
just.
I said, well, what the hell, you know, who cares? So I signed up for the Army, and this was January of 1938 by this time.
Okay.
And so they sent me to Cheyenne, Wyoming, the dead of winter. You know. And welcome to the North Country, boy. But anyway, I got in the infantry, and fortunately I was put in a headquarters company, which was the communications end of the regiment.
Okay.
They furnished communications for the whole regiment. But it turned out to be really a blessing for me because I didn't have to get out there and march with the pack and all that kind of stuff like everybody else, you know.
So what were you doing?
Well, I was a radio operator.
Okay.
And had the Morse code and the old World War I radios we used in those days. And so after I learned how to be a radio operator, then I would go to a battalion. I'd be assigned to a battalion headquarters to furnish communications back to the regiment headquarters. So each battalion had their own radio operator. Well, I would go to one of them, whatever one they assigned me to, and then I'd check in to the battalion commander, tell him, you know, I was his radio operator and everything. He'd tell me, well, you sit over here by the tent, you know, by his command tent,
Right.
under the shade of a tree, of course.
Of course.
And so then I'd have to get one of the foot soldiers out of the company to grind my generator. Go see it, they had a hand generator to run the radio.
Huh? Yeah.
Oh boy, they was tickled death to get that job, man. Get sit in the shade with me, and so I'd check in with the regimental radio net, you know, tell them that we was all set up for communications at this battalion, whatever it was. So then after everybody checked in, they'd declare radio silence. So we'd just sit there in the shade of the tree and just, you know, wait for the war to end and so we could go home. And
that's it?
but well, the first part wasn't so damn great because we had mules.
Uh-huh.
We was all mule powered, and so I had a radio cart. I could put the old mule up to it, and then I'd take off that mule. But in 1939, after I'd been there for a year and a half, we decided to get rid of the mules and get trucks.
Okay.
So that was a lot better. Well, I got me a little half-ton truck.
But
And,
that first year,
First year,
when the battalion would move,
yeah,
you had a little mule cart.
yeah, had a mule in the cart.
And so then the mule's your
That
responsibility?
was my responsibility. You damn right.
So,
Every night, boy, when we'd make camp, you take care of the mule first before you bed yourself down or get something to eat or anything else. You take care of the mule.
this is the downside of
Oh,
being a radio
man, yeah.
operator.
Brush him down and wipe his damn dock, you know, and everything. You know, I tell you, feed him hay, get him tied up on the rope line, you know, and everything. And then we go get something to eat, you know. By that time, it'd be dark as heck.
Single mule?
Yeah, oh yeah. You take care of one mule.
Okay.
Yours.
And a little cart with all your radio rig and
Everything, yeah. And your pack, you just put the pack on your cart too, so you don't have to carry your gun. But of course, the radio operators carry pistols, we didn't carry rifles.
Oh,
So we'd have a web belt and a pistol in it.
and all this radio gear is quite a
Yeah,
bit.
and then radio set and everything. And then our pack, your backpack, and our pup tent and stuff. So anyway, we just throw that on the cart and let the mule carry that.
Get to move up to a truck.
So
then.
we was real fortunate there. And then when we got trucks, it was even better because they just throw everything in the back of the truck and drive off. And you know, I didn't need a mule anymore. Didn't have to worry about that. So that was a lot better then. And then after we got our trucks, just to test our give us a little experience in truck convoy,
Right.
we went from Cheyenne back down here to San Antonio to Camp Bullis, just on the north side of San Antonio,
Uh-huh.
for a month's maneuvers in the summer of 1939. After we got our trucks.
Okay.
And, boy, I'll tell you, we come down that Raton Pass there, that snaky road they had back in those days. That was where, it's wonder we all got down there safe, you know. Probably wouldn't all end up in a ravine somewhere. But, boy, that first convoy, it was terrible. We'd be going along with everybody, just almost be stopped, you know, be lines, trucks for miles, you know. And then all of a sudden everybody speed up and you'd be 10 miles between each truck, you know, strung out for miles along the highway.
Crack troops.
It was some learning process we was going through. But anyway, we got down and had our maneuvers down Bullis, and everything worked out all right, it seemed like. And we made the trip back to Cheyenne. And they decided that we ought to go over to Camp Perry, Ohio, for the National Rifle Matches. and furnished communications for the firing line.
Okay.
So we sent a bunch of us from our outfit over there, communications people, over on another truck convoy over to Camp Perry, Ohio. And so that was another good little trip, you know, go 200 miles, camp
Right.
out. And so we stayed one night in Janesville, Wisconsin, remember that, and we went around Chicago. They wanted to go through Chicago with that bunch. So we went around Chicago, and we got on the other side, and then went into Camp Perry. It was up by Toledo, and it was right on the Lake Erie.
Oh, okay.
That's where they got the Camp Perry Range is right on the lake.
Okay.
So they can fire out over towards the water. You know.
But
not
just the radio operators
Just the
went? Or
communication, yeah.
Just communications,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm. Well, that time, when we got over to Toledo, we went in and had radio loudspeakers mounted on our trucks, and then our microphones and stuff, radios in the truck.
Right.
So we'd go out and send each one of us pick a different firing line, and then the range commander would stand by our truck, and he'd use the loudspeaker and command all of his section of the firing range.
Okay.
And they had 1,000 yards, 500 yards, 100 yards, 50 yards, and they're all the kind of ranges in the world, because that's the national rifle matching every year.
Right.
And everybody goes up there for that big thing.
Right.
So anyway, this one guy I was on the 1,000-yard range with my truck, and he was firing rapid fire, and had about 50 guys down there laying on their bellies firing rapid fire at the targets, 1,000 yards down there.
Right.
Well, here comes this little old puddle jumping airplane, and right down through all that damn lead. The engine quit right overhead. And he saw that big grassy area down there, so he thought that was a good place to land. He didn't know all that land was. You know that guy didn't get a scratch? What? Nothing. He went down through all that damn lead, and by the time he got down in the middle of it, below it, really, landing on the grass, well, the range commander ordered, cease fire and everything when he saw the airplane. That guy went down through all that damn lead and never got a scratch. But boy, it sure shook everybody up. They thought they'd kill the guy,
See,
Get out there and there wasn't anything wrong with it. Just put some gas in his damn airplane and took off.
it's some civilian?
Yeah, so man, found a little puddle jumping airplane, a little Cessna. And
Unbelievable.
anyway, come right down through all that lead. Boy, I tell you, scared the people to death. Anyway, on the weekends they'd have a big old tri-motor Ford come in there, and they'd take rides, So first airplane ride was there. No, it wasn't either. Longmont, when the barge stormer came around in a little open cockpit job. And me and Nick and the granddad, and Grandpa Boyer, took us up in that thing
Really?
for the first flight. Yeah,
That was your
just
first time
flip
up
around
in
the town, and everything. Just about 15 minutes, and everything. You need to come down.
Right. How old were you then?
Oh, see, when I took my first flight, I was about
Very touched, I'll tell you.
7. I think
7 years
Nick-
old.
Nick-
In an
Nick-
open cockpit
Yeah,
barge
an old
storm
cockpit.
plane.
Barge, the old biplane.
Like a little Jenny or something?
Jenny, yeah. In fact, that's what it was, Jenny. And almost every time after you landed, they had to fix something on the airplane.
Well, yeah.
Because it just landed in that old grass field out there, didn't have any airports or anything.
I guess I'll do.
So you put back together some broken
So we put
piece.
it back
Yeah.
to the mail
Yeah.
order. After we got through with Camp Perry, we went back to Cheyenne after the rifle matches were all over.
So your whole time in the infantry, you were pretty much based in Cheyenne.
Home base in
And then-
Cheyenne, but we were
and you just
traveling
made
all over the
all these
place.
trips.
Yeah, the last 2 years I was just doing traveling.
So you were in Cheyenne that
I wasn't
much.
in Cheyenne most of the time. I was somewhere else.
Okay. But still,
But that's home base.
Signal Corps radio operator the whole time.
Now, no, not the whole time. Right at the end there, I got to be company clerk. They sent me to school downtown to be typing in shorthand,
Oh,
study typing shorthand. So I
I
took
did,
that and then made me company clerk there for a while.
I did not know
Work
that.
it out, yeah. And so we had a regular company clerk. He was a buck sergeant, and I was probably first class, so I was kind of assistant.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, I'd type up all the laundry lists and stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
and take care of stuff around the office that he didn't want to do.
Well, it sounds like
And,
you had a pretty easy assignment. to me.
Oh yeah, it was great being in the headquarters company, man. Other people in the line companies, man, they was marching all the damn time, carrying that big old packet, and out there in them maneuvers, in the sun,
Uh-huh.
in the hot sun. And here I was sitting in the shade of the tree waiting for the radio silence to be declared so I could go home, or not declared. They always had to open up your radio and check out,
Yeah.
when the war was over.
Right.
From Dayton, or from Toledo, it was getting pretty close to me getting out. not sure what's up.
Right.
But this was, I'd say it was September of 1940.
Right.
And so I got out January the 4th of 1941.
Okay.
So I was getting real close to getting out. Well, anyway, it come Christmas time, I went back home again for Christmas. And then when I got back after Christmas, well, I just had a week, you know, so stayed in service and I got out and went on back home again. So back to Buster.
By early January, you're done with the Army.
I was done with the Army. Got out, well, I signed up, enlisted January 5th, so I got out January 4th,
Okay.
3 years later.
All right.
Anyway, that was a real good experience. I enjoyed that tour. But, well, we pulled a few things there too, you know.
Like what?
Well, the last thing I did, I was the company commander's truck driver.
Right.
Had a little personnel carrier for a company car, you know.
Okay.
But anyway, I was the driver, and we parked it right behind the company headquarters. And so anyway, me and a couple of boys had been over to the club having a few beers, you know.
Right.
And we decided, well, you know, why don't we take the company commander's car and go to town? You know, I was the driver anyway.
Right.
So we got out there and got in the truck and started the engine, turned the headlights on. Well, the first sergeant, Rue, was right there. And he heard all this going on, you know, but I'd been telling him all the time I was going to re-enlist. And so he was grooming me to re-elect in his outfit, you know.
Right.
And he heard all this going on, but he didn't say anything. And so we decided, well, we better not go to town, so we shut the engine off and shut the lights down. And talked it over and decided, well, no, we're going. So we started up again. About 2-3 times we decided to go. Finally we started up and backed up and took off. Well, we decided on the way out we couldn't go through the front gate.
No.
The trip thing was, we went back out to the firing range, back road to get on the highway to come into Cheyenne from another direction.
Right.
So anyway, on the way out we decided, well, this friend of ours was corporal of guard at night. We'll take him with us. So we talked him into getting in the truck and going to town with us. He was corporal of the guard.
You left guard duty?
Fortunately, he didn't get caught. We was downtown till about 2 in the morning and we finally come back. But when we got out, he still had his pistol on and everything. And he didn't want to take it into bars or anything with us. So he said, well, let's put it in the glove compartment, that's all right. You know. Left his .45 pistol out there in the glove compartment, this wide open car, you know. And we went down, made a few bars. Like I said, about 2 o'clock we decided to go back home again.
Right.
Went back around, went a long way, come in through the firing range and back up, let him go back to his duties. We went on back to barracks. And
Never got caught?
No, well, yeah, the first sergeant, he knew all about it. You know.
Oh.
But like I said, he was grooming me to re-enlist, and so he didn't want to say nothing right then. So we was going up to get my discharge, he had to take me up to regimental headquarters. He was just happy, we walked along and said, "Going along to re-enlist." And when I got my discharge, I said, "I'm sorry, Sergeant, I ain't gonna do it. I'm gonna take off." Then he told me he knew all about that trip I took, and he said,
Oh, wow.
"So I knew you would have gone to re-enlist, I'd have had your ass." I said, "Well, I'm glad you didn't know about it." Anyway, I got my discharge and I run like hell, boy.
Oh.
I wasn't about to re-up in that thing. Even though I had a good time while I was there.
Well, yeah. Well, it sounds like a pretty positive
But
investment.
anyway, by that time, they was all gearing up for this war, you know. 'Cause they
Yeah,
was getting
that's
ready.
right.
They was building up the service, and we were sending people out in cadres from our unit every place in the country. You know.
Everybody saw it coming, right?
Starting new forts here and there, you know. Yeah. And so they pulled on the old outfits to get the experienced men to start the cadres and to build up these forts. So I would have gone to one of them if I hadn't been getting out.
Yeah. So he really wanted you to re-enlist.
Oh yeah, he really did, because man, they were doing good, and we had so many promotions in there for private first class stuff, we didn't have enough people to give them to, you know. Because after they started building up the services, they started getting a lot of promotions and everything like that. So I made corporal just before I got out, about a week. And so I run my clearance when I was getting out, you know, I had to go around and get clearance from everybody, make sure you was clear and all that
Right.
stuff. So I had to go to the NCO club and sign, get my clearance. Well, after I got that done, I had one more night to spend, you know, so me and this other kid decided, well, we'll go to the NCO club and drink some beer. So I went over and I signed up for another $5 book, you know, buy some beer with. They didn't know I'd already signed the clearance. They never thought about that. So anyway, we drank beer on that $5 book, you know. Next day I left, took off. I don't know when they were collecting the $5. But anyway, I beat them out of that $5.
So you still owe them that
I still
earlier
owe $5.
$5, huh?
And anyway, after the next day, all these other guys from Oklahoma got out at the same time, you know, Joe and said, no, we jumped in the car and took off. This one kid had bought a car, and so we all filed in there and took off for Oklahoma.
So you just headed back home together?
And they dropped me off in Oklahoma City, and I rode the bus there. Yeah, because most of them guys from Texas, they was going down to Texas.
So what'd you do once you got back to Boston?
There was one kid, didn't do a dang thing, just hung around, but got real familiar with all the old buddies that were still there. And this kid had a guitar shop, his dad still owned that, you know. So, we palled around a little bit until Nick come home in April. That was in January, in April. Nick came home from Texas. He'd gotten out of college in 1940 and was working for Gulf Oil down in Texas. And so he came home to visit folks. I was there, so he said, well, you ain't doing anything, so why don't you come on down to Texas with me to get on with golf? But they're hiring them worthwhile.
Okay.
But yeah, fine, you know, so
This is whereabouts in Texas?
Crane, little town of Crane out of Odessa.
Okay.
So anyway, he was up there with another guy that he worked with out there at a car. They were smoking with, so we went hitchhiked back over where he was and got to him, went on back down to Texas. And so I stayed in the bunkhouse with Nick, because he was still single at that time,
Uh-huh.
and living in the bunkhouse, so I stayed there with him. And then I went to work for a guy downtown that had a refrigeration shop and a radio store, you know. And he was fixing refrigerators, sold new ones and stuff like that, so I just kind of helped him around the store until I applied for golf to get on with him, you know. So then see, that was in April of 1941. And so I worked for him until September. They finally called me and went to work for golf in September of 41.
Okay.
So anyway, I worked for the radio shop in the meantime to
Right.
for this guy.
Doing,
Anyway,
appliance
then I
thing.
went to work for golf, and I started going to his mom in the meantime.
Oh, okay.
And she was there at Crane too. And so then they're working along Pearl Harbor
Right.
in December of 41.
Right.
And so everybody started going back to the service again. You know. So in the meantime, while I was still in the service in Cheyenne, when they started the draft, well, they said you got to write to your draft board at home and register yourself, tell them you're in the service now. You know. So I did. I wrote to my draft board, told them I was in the service already, you know, and everything like that. So I thought I was registered. But after I got down to Crane, I didn't do anything about it. You know, I just said I was registered at home, and so I didn't worry about it.
Right.
But I was got to talk to one of the draft board guys one day, and he said, you know, I asked if I was registered then. I said, no, I was in the service when the draft started. And I said, I registered. At home told him I was in the service. He said, well, you got to register again. I said, I do. He said, yeah. So I went down and registered with his draft board. But he put me in the category of guys that had been gone for a long time. You know, but in the meantime, I'd already gone down and taken the test for pilot training. I told him, well, I'm already signed up.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I'd already, well, see, because Nick was ROTC. He was a lieutenant already in the ROTC
Okay.
program. So he went down and just activated his commission in San Antonio.
Okay.
And so when he was down there doing that, I took the test for pilot training. And
Just because that's what you wanted to do.
because that's what I want to do anyway.
Okay.
But then they said, well, we don't have room right now, we'll call you. You know, you go back and work, and so we'll call you. But of course, Nick took him right away. He was gone. We went back and packed his stuff in the Crane, and he left. He and his wife.
Good, but you're
He
working,
was in the Army.
you're working at golf,
I was working at golf.
In
so
Crane.
In Crane.
and now you're registered.
And then- Yeah,
And,
but then we decided, your mom and I was gonna get married,
uh-huh,
but we was gonna wait till September when I got a vacation instead of a honeymoon.
okay.
But we decided, since I had to go to the service, that we were getting married now. So we got married in March,
Okay.
42.
But when
And,
you said you registered for pilot training, or you actually took pilot training?
Took the test
Oh, you took
for
the test?
pilot training, yeah.
Okay.
I got assigned to
Okay.
for pilot training, but they didn't have room for me, so they said go back and work till we could.
Okay, but you passed the test.
I passed the test and everything, and I was ready to go, but I went back and worked for golf then until they called me in September. Just when I had a year with golf, well, they called me to go to pilot training, so I left your mom there in Crane, and I took off and went out to California.
Okay.
Went to start pilot training there. Well, I went through pre-flight and then went to primary training
Uh-huh.
flight, and then I was in basic training there, the second school, second flight school out of Tucson
Uh-huh.
when Stan was born. So,
Okay.
uh,
Still back in Crane? Or did they come out to
No,
California?
she was over in Buster with the folks,
Okay,
because she went up there to have a baby.
okay.
See, Stanley was in Buster,
Oh, that's right.
went to the old hospital. So anyway, she'd gone up to visit my folks to have a baby.
Okay,
That was all arranged before. Anyway, they forgot to tell me that the kid was born, so I got a call from my uncle's wife down in Nogales, and told me that I was a new father, and I said, hell, I am. You know, I didn't know a thing about it. And so anyway, what happened was, Nana and your grandma Tinker had gone down and was supposed to send me a telegram, you know, if the baby was born and everything. But they'd been partying so much celebrating the new baby, they forgot all about it. They never did send a telegram. And so I didn't know I was a new father
So that was
until about a week after the kid was born, you know.
you did, oh my God, what did they train you in? What was that like?
Well, pre-flight, of course, was just, most of the guys were brand new in service. And so there's basic training. Most of them just teach you how to be a military man and stuff like that. Teach you how to
You'd
march.
already been through it.
Teach you how to march and
Yeah.
just pre-flight, you know, get you acclimated to the military life.
Okay,
And then, well, when it come time, see, you're supposed to be there for 6 weeks, under quarantine. Well, then you had about 2 weeks more of pre-flight, and you could take weekend passes. Well, after 6 weeks, we got our weekend pass, but then they picked us early because they opened up some new primary schools, and they needed more cadets.
okay,
So we just got 1 weekend pass in my class. And in fact, we got moved up a class. Because we started off in pre-flight, we were 43E class, which means every month they give a different letter. You know, January was A, B, February was B. So anyway, we were 43E, and when they sent us to primary, when we moved us up, it was 43D. So we got out in April
okay.
of 43. So anyway, we went to pre-flight down Blythe, California, and stayed there all during September and October. November, we went basic training over Verona, and was there in November, December, and part of January, and then we went up to Williams Field for advanced training, where we graduated.
Yeah,
That was in Phoenix.
what kind of plane did they have you in?
Well, in the primary, we flew the little Ryans, which is a low-wing monoplane, open cockpit thing.
Open cockpit.
Yep, and we trained in them for primary. We got 60 hours of flying time in that.
Okay,
Then you moved on to basic, you got into what's called the basic trainer, VT-13,
okay.
made by Vultee Corporation. Anyway, that was a great, big, huge thing compared to that little trainer we did.
This
But
is
it was a
when-
closed cockpit, you know, had a
Right.
canopy. We liked that part because the wind blowing past your head give you a headache a lot of times. The open cockpit. So anyway, we got the big old plane, that basic training, so we started getting more kind of intensive training, like instrument flying,
Right.
night flying, stuff like that in basic.
Okay,
But the rest of it just all practice and stuff, you know. And then we go to advanced. Well, it's just like going to heaven, getting out of basic, because in basic training, it was the first military school we went to. See, so primary was civilian school, run by civilians. But they still had military air to it, you know. Anyway, then you get to basic, and it's all run by the military. Well, all your administrative officers were war staff pilots. So naturally, you caught hell. You know. They tried to run you off every way they could.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh man, they made life miserable. Because they were bitter, you know. They didn't make it. And so they didn't want you to make it either.
Oh,
But anyway,
yeah.
basic was pure hell. Well, I mean, they was on your back from daybreak to the time you went to bed, you know, trying to run you off. In fact, they did run off a lot of guys.
'Cause they couldn't fly anymore, so.
No, once you got worked out of the program, that's it. They could make navigators out of them, or bombardiers or something like that.
Right,
But more pilot training.
not the same.
Anyway, that was, like I said, pretty rough, the basic training part, just because of that one reason. But then we went to advance and we started treating you like human beings, you know, man, no more formations. You just know where you're supposed to be, you show up. You know.
Right,
And, well, actually, when you went to flight line, we did march down in formation to flight line, that was it. But going to mess hall or anything, you just ambled over there, suit yourself.
okay,
And if you didn't have any classes or, you know, set up for any special time or any flying thing, well, you could go out and do anything you want to around the base now.
Oh,
It was a pretty time.
okay.
So it was just like heaven, boy, it was great. Besides that, it was good weather, the swimming pool was open, you know, even in February. Winter the guys were swimming, you know, in Phoenix. And so, man, we thought, man, we're really going to heaven for sure. But we finished up there in April 11th, you know, graduated, got our pins. Well, in the meantime, your mama come out with Stanley,
Okay.
and they was staying there in town just about the last few days before I graduated. So they was there for the graduation and everything like that.
Cool.
And so then she got to pin my wings on, you know, for the mid pilot. And my bars for the second lieutenant at the same time.
This is
Anyway, then
Number 43.
after a couple of days, that was April 43. The next
Okay.
couple of days, we stuck around there, and then we got on the train because we were assigned to, the whole class went to P-38 training. And first we went to Glendale, which is the headquarters for all that area. And then they parsoned us out to different fields for training. Some went to San Diego, some went up a couple of places. We went to Muroc,
So you didn't
out in
have,
the desert.
you didn't have any choice with that. You
No,
just
no,
got
no.
picked for P-38s.
They sent the whole class to
Okay.
P-38 training. I guess he didn't much of them about that time. But I was what I wanted anyway.
Oh, really?
That was my favorite. That was my plane. I wanted P-38, so I was tickled death when we got that.
Okay.
So we went signed up out to Muroc in the Dry Lake, which is Edwards Air Force Base now.
Oh,
That's where I went to school for P-38 training.
okay.
And of course, dragging your mom and Stan around all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Riding the red car all over LA. From Glendale out to Muroc, you know, and after Muroc, we went down to Ontario, just to, in the regular outfit, you know,
Uh-huh.
20th Fighter Group
Uh-huh.
was there. One squadron was in Ontario, and the other two squadrons were at Morris Field, which is the headquarters in Riverside. So anyway, I was sent to Ontario and took some of my training out at apple orchard they had for an airport there. And so your mama was living up in Muroc, you know, desert. So she got on the red car and went all the way down to Riverside. She had a friend down there from Spain. One of her girlfriends lived there in Riverside. So she stayed over there with her while I was in Ontario.
Okay.
And then I just went from Ontario back over to Morris Field anyway, 'cause it's right in Riverside.
Uh-huh.
We're close. So it was all in that same area. But then the 20th group was getting ready to go overseas, and we weren't through with our combat crew training, so they sent us back up to Van Nuys
Okay.
to finish with that outfit up there. So that's where I finished my combat crew training, was out of Van Nuys. So your mama then rode the red car up with Stan up to Van Nuys, and so we got a little house, a room in the house there
Ah.
in Van Nuys, so I'd come down once in a while when I get time off from training and visit with them, you know.
But they kept you pretty busy.
They kept me
training
pretty
you.
busy with training, yeah. But last week wasn't too bad, because we were just about finished and just getting ready to go.
The whole time just in P-38s.
Yeah, all time just to be 38. So anyway, then come time to go overseas, so I had to go down and take your mom and Stan, put them on the train, send them back to where Mama was, Texas. And I think she was in, some little town there, I guess I forget that. But anyway, sent her back up there. And then we got on the train and went from Los Angeles to Miami on the friendly Southern Pacific.
That's a long
Took a
train,
long
right?
time, yeah, boy, it's hell. Well, we stopped in Uvalde out here in West Texas
Uh-huh.
for about an hour, I think. So anyway, we saw a bar a couple blocks down the street from the train.
Uh-huh.
So we decided, well, we go down and have some beer while we wait for the train, you know. So we stand there drinking the beers at the bar, and one of the guys looked up, so you could see the train a couple blocks up the street. And he said, hey, the train's moving. I said, what? So yeah, boy, we dropped that damn beer and ran like hell to get back on the train. And one of our friends on the train saw us running up the street, so he reached up and pulled an emergency cord. Stopped the damn train, boy. And the conductor was mad in hell. Who pulled that damn car? Boy, he come back and raised hell with the conductor. But we got on the train, all right, and we made it. Anyway, then we went on across country, stopped in New Orleans for 8 hours, and we stopped in Jacksonville, Florida for 8 hours, and, you know, just get off the train and rest and everything. But anyway, we finally got down to Miami, and got in the hotel in Miami Beach, and so we had to wait around 10 days to get a flight overseas.
Yeah, I mean, you were going where?
Well, we're going to North Africa.
North Africa first.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So anyway, your mother decided to come down. She found out where I was because we was drinking in the bar one night and I wrote a postcard, you know, it's a postcard to Miami. So she knew where I was. So she got called down there and found out where in hell I was staying. Anyway, told me she's coming down.
Okay.
I said, well, I might be going overseas in a minute. Well, I'm coming anyway. You know. So she just had got a paycheck from the government, you know, so she hopped on the train and let Nana can stand and she come down to visit. And so, unfortunately, there was two railroad stations in Miami. One of them was way hell out in the country and the other was right in town.
Okay.
So I said she was going to get the station there, so I went downtown to one and had a cab, you know, take me down there. And we looked for her and nothing. Train come in and nobody was on it, so she wasn't on it anyway. When I got back to the hotel, she had called from the other station and said, she's waiting on me to pick her up, you know, she's out there all by herself. And I said, well, where the hell are you? You know, she told me, well, out here in the country someplace. So I asked the cab driver, is there another station here somewhere? He said, yeah, I said, there's one out there way out country. So we got out there and there your mama sitting there with her suitcase waiting on us, and been there a long time. Well, I thought, I didn't know the station was out there, crap. But anyway,
Honest.
got back to the hotel and we was visiting that night, that afternoon. I got notice that I was supposed to get on the plane that night at midnight, get out of it. You know, so we got a few hours together, and then I got on the plane and left. She went on back to Texas, and anyway, that was some trip.
Most for
Anyway, old Al Jolson was on the plane with us.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yeah, he and his piano player was on the train. On the plane with us going down as far as Natal, Brazil. So every time we'd stop for gas at some airport, he'd get off and put a little show on the airport, you know. The piano player would play his little keyboard, and he'd put on a little show for the troops, you know, whoever's standing around.
And he was headed where?
He was going to India, so we separated from Natal. He got on the plane going to India, and we had to wait for him to go just north Africa. You know, so.
Okay.
Anyway, old Al Wilson, he was a real guy, but all the time we was flying, he'd sleep. He was kind of old at that time.
Okay.
But every time we stopped, he'd get off, he'd give a little show, you know, and everything. And for the troops. When he'd get on the plane, he'd go to sleep. But anyway, we got him to sign our what we call short snorter bills. Everybody had a dollar bill that get everybody to sign it, you know, that they met, you know, during the war. This kind of fad was going on at that time. Everybody had a short snorter bill.
What bill?
Short snorter, they called it.
Short
Short snorter.
snorter bill.
Yeah. Some guys had them taped together, you know, I had about a dozen of the dollar bills taped together, everybody, all the signatures on them and everything. I had Al Jolson's signature on mine and this piano player too. But anyway,
This is just like collecting autographs on dollar bills.
anyway, we got to Natal de Brazil, and we had to wait a couple, 3 days to get a plane going over to Africa, to Dakar. And it just happened later on I found out it was the same type of airplane that Oakland French went down in. There was a
Are you kidding?
B-24,
B-24.
called the LB-30. It was a cargo version of the B-24.
Yeah, an LB-30, yeah.
And
Is the one that you
well, I
flew
didn't
over?
know that French was even flying it, you know. And I didn't know that's what I went overseas in. I knew it was a B-24 cargo version, but I didn't know it was LB-30. But anyway, it turned out, put two together later, I found out the same type of airplane that French was flying when he went down. And if I'd known that, it's so unstable, I would have been scared to death to fly the damn thing. But I didn't like B-24s anyway. You know.
Oh.
Anything 4 inches is unsafe. So anyway, we got overseas okay. And had to stay in Dakar for a few days to get the plane up to Casablanca. Training place there for P-38 pilots that come out of other outfits for training to fly P-38s. So they sent us there, not knowing that we had 620 hours of P-38 time already. You know, we've been training them. So man, they were tickled to see us when they found out we was already training P-38s. They just said, "Here, take the planes and go train just to fly for a week. You know, just have a ball." So we just went around, buzzed every damn place we could find. You know, just flew around and had a good time for a week. You know, and the instructors tickled to death. You find some guys already trained. So we had a good week there in Casablanca. Going to town every night again.
So what was it like flying that week?
Oh, great. Gee, man, we'd go down and buzz those camels. We'd see poor guys leading the camel, you know, and buzz the camel. And the camel would raise up on his hind legs and, you know, get scared to death. Here's old Arab hanging onto the reins, just flopping in the wind, you know, plumb off the ground.
And
We'd look back and see all this. Boy, the Arabs get madder than hell. There wasn't nothing they could do about it.
you're zipping along how
We
long?
thought it was fun, you know. Man, it wasn't. wasn't too much fun for the year end.
Yeah,
But we just go out and buzz the desert all over the damn place, you know.
You're getting down
Just
how
fly
low?
around, do what you want to, you know. Fly out over the water, cause hell, you know, that training's right there,
right.
and, do what you want, you know.
How
Cause
great.
the instructors didn't give a damn as long as you brought the airplane back, that's all they cared.
That's probably some of the best, funnest flying
Oh,
you've
yeah,
ever had.
yeah, it's great, didn't know responsibility, just got to fly for a couple hours and come on back, you know. And, then you're through for the day, you know, next day you go do another flight. One flight a day, you know.
So that lasted
Get
a
so
week.
much time in. And then we got on a plane and went up to Tunis and joined their outfit there. They sent people in from the units and big trucks and whoever was going to certain units, they pick them out to the unit.
So that's where your group
we
was.
joined the unit there just
Okay.
out of Tunis, a little ways, and that's where I flew the first combat missions from that field.
Okay.
But I only flew 2 or 3 missions out of there, and then we had to go up to Sicily and fly out of Sicily to make the landing on Italy. You know, this was September of '43.
Okay.
September, I think the 9th or 10th was when we started.
So you're based in Sicily.
They made the first landing on Salerno in Italy, southern Italy, right by Naples. So we were flying top cover for the landing. That was our job.
Okay.
Keep all the enemy fighters away from anybody else trying to attack the landing force.
For the Salerno landing.
Salerno landing, yeah, first landing in Italy. And so that's what we did for about 10 days. We just did top cover for the landing. Just keep, well, we did some little strafing and some dive bombing too on the side. You know. And some boys leave patrol and go out and dive bomb an intersection where they had crossing highways, you know.
Right.
So they trucks couldn't travel up there and everything.
Well, that had to be 10 days, pretty constant missions.
That was pretty hectic. We fly sometimes 2 missions a day, you know. We'd fly patrol until you go back to Sicily and refuel, and for the afternoon fly another one. And then sometimes you get back at night, and so they had the airfields so close together that our flying patterns overlapped. You know, when from landing fields and patterns overlapped. Airfields are so close together, and so many people flying out of Sicily for that deal, you know. So, but when you come back, they have a big old searchlight stood up in the air, you know. If you didn't have room to land right then, they'd say, we go circle the searchlight until we get room for you to come in, you know. We go up there, and one night I was coming back and told me to circle the searchlight, and so I was circling that damn beam, and I noticed that my rate of climb indicator was going up, and it was going down, going up and down. But when I got on the ground and realized that damn thing had bent that, it was leaning that beam over, and I was going up and down like this, and I thought I was circling like this, you know. Until I saw my rate of climb deal go up, and it go down, and go up.
The lights off at an angle instead of straight
Somebody
up.
leaned the damn light over like that, and I was going like this. Oh, well, anyway, we made it all right. But we was right at the foot of Mount Etna, is where our field was.
Oh, yeah.
So we take off, and that big old mountain was out to your face. Anyway, that was real interesting stuff.
So what did you experience during those 10 days, doing that top cover flying?
Well, actually, you're scared to death every time, you know, because
Right?
you're in enemy territory. And so we saw enemy airplanes, you know, every once in a while. We couldn't leave the patrol because we had to watch and keep them off the damn ships. If they were start for the ships, and we'd take care of them, you know. But if they was other places, we just couldn't leave. We had to stay right there and watch.
And those planes weren't coming after you, they were going after the ships.
Oh
and
yeah, they were
troops.
going after ships too, yeah. So that's what we had to watch out for.
So you chased them off.
But yeah, but just one mission, they kept us up there so long we ran out of gas. We went low on fuel. So they said, well, they scraped out a runway on the Salerno beachhead down there.
Uh-huh.
Just took a bulldozer and scraped the sand off, you know, and then put down some fresh steel plating they used to make runways on the sand.
Uh-huh.
So they said, well, we got that runway made there. You guys go in and land and get some gas, and then
Okay.
go send down another patrol, and then you go home down
Okay.
to Sicily. So we landed there, and boy, I mean, they was fighting all around the damn place. You could hear the rifle fire and the cannon fire and everything else going off with the Germans and the Americans were fighting, and they're trying to get this beachhead established, you know.
So while they're fighting up the beachhead, they're building a temporary airstrip
Yeah,
so that
right
you
on
can
the
come
main
down and
beach.
land and
Yeah,
refuel.
Refuel, yeah.
And it was easier for them to lay that landing strip than for you to fly back to Sicily?
Well, sure, we didn't have the gas to go back to Sicily.
Man.
Well, they had the steel planking already laid down anyway, they just
Right.
hadn't made it, but it was brand new, you know,
Yeah.
we was the first way to land on it. And, So anyway, they told us to go in there and we fill up, but we had to fill up out of 5-gallon cans, you know.
Oh,
Had these jerry cans,
right.
and they had the ground troops, had all these jerry cans out there. Well, they put a bunch of them by your plane, and the guy'd stand there with an axe and just knock a hole in the top, and he'd spill out about a gallon, you know, every time he hit the damn thing. I'm surprised it
Yeah, it's
didn't
5
catch
after
fire.
11.
Explode.
It
Yeah.
sparked, but he rolled it up with a damn axe, you know. And then he'd hand the can up to us, and we'd pour out of that big old gash trying to get into your fuel tank. Well, you spill another couple of gallons. So out of 5-gallon can, you get about 3 gallons in your tank, you know. But anyway, we had to do that 5 gallons at a time until we got the damn the main tanks full anyway. Enough to get a little petroleum back to Sicily.
That'd take
But
forever.
that took a long time, yeah, dang right. But in the meantime, all this firing was going on all around you. And after we got through refueling ours, here comes some Spitfires, British,
Uh-huh.
was coming in. They wanted to land for fuel. Well, at that time, the people had been strafed by these German single engine planes so much that any single engine plane they didn't trust that they shoot at, you know. And so these Spitfire, 6 of them came in there and were circling to land, and all this anti-aircraft fire was going up. And so much, it looked just like a big old tire, big black tire all around the damn field. Anti-aircraft fire, shooting at them Spitfires. Because this single engine, they was in, they didn't give a damn. You know. Well, the guys went off over the hill, you know, to get out of the fire, and but they was running short of fuel, and they had to come back. There's no place in the world to get fuel.
Right.
So they come back in and got the landing pattern again. Well, the same damn thing. They started shooting at them, but they started kept the landing pattern anyway. They had to come down.
Right.
So the first guy, his plane got hit in the tail. His tail assembly just disappeared. So he noticed his airplane went up, and then he just go straight in the ground. He didn't have a chance, and killed him. The second guy, he come in and he made it all right. He landed. The third guy, he got hit pretty bad, and he went over and crash landed just off of beyond the trees in the field over there, away from the air base. So, but he lived. He was okay. His airplane was lost.
Right.
And the fourth guy, he made it all right. And the fifth guy, he got hit, and he had to bail out. So he come down in pressure. And the sixth guy, he made it all right. So 3 of them out of 6 made it okay.
But they never did stop firing at them.
No, hell no, it was firing all the time.
They never did figure out that these are
But the
British
first guy
Spitfires.
that taxied up there, the number 2 man, he made it and landed.
Okay.
And he taxied up close to where we were, and we all run over to look at his airplane. They had full of holes,
Yeah.
of black holes.
Right.
And he got out and looked at all them holes, and all he said was, "Bloody good shooting, Yanks." They a British guy. That's all he said. Bloody good shooting. So anyway, those 3 guys made it all right. Got some fuel. But man, it was hectic on that place. But then they had some newsreel film stuff they wanted us to take out there and get in the system, you know. So we carried the film back to Sicily with us when we took off and turned that in and got that going back to the States.
Meanwhile, all around you, the invasion is still going on.
Oh yeah, well, and then about 3 of the guys couldn't start their airplanes when they got ready to go back, and so they said, "Man, you're in the infantry now." They gave them a rifle and told them to get out there and help out, because they couldn't start their airplanes in, and the airplane just stayed there on that airport, on that strip. So anyway,
They tried really hard to get that
I was
airplane.
damn glad mine started. Boy, I had a little trouble starting the right engine. That didn't want to go. But finally it started real good. Well, I was tickled death because I didn't want to get the infantry right then. I already been in the infantry. I didn't like that. So anyway, we took off and flew a little patrol and then went on back to Sicily. And anyway, that was getting close to the end of the whole damn thing. And after 10 days of that, well, we made one more strafing mission up in northern Italy, in Foggia area. Had 11 airfields up there.
Uh-huh.
So when we took off from Sicily, we went up there, strafed all those airfields, and then come on back to Sicily, landed, got gas and moved on back to Africa. And then they give us 10 days vacation. So on the first day of 10 days, we was in Tunis that night, so we was going to town.
Uh-huh.
And who'd I ran into but Uncle Ernie? Right on
No
the street.
way.
Right on the street of Tunis. Yeah, he was already over there, and he was a pilot in B-25. So anyway, I ran into him on the street of Tunis, so we got together and caught each other up to date what's going on.
He's a
He didn't know I was in the country either. No, he was B-25 pilot.
What was his real name?
And Stanley
Stanley.
Ketchell Armstrong. His name Ketchell from boxer that was famous back when he was born, you know.
Oh,
His
really?
dad named him for that boxer.
Ketchel?
And he's named his mama for one of his girlfriends. Fleta, his girlfriend, he named your mama Fleta after his girlfriend, so. Mama always hated that name, so there's no, I don't know. But anyway, that's another story.
Okay.
But
So
anyway,
you bumped into him right in the streets too?
Yeah, and so I had 10 days off,
Right?
so he had a Jeep he'd stolen from my outfit, you know, for his own. And so he had his own tent.
He
back at the
stole it
place.
from your outfit?
Yeah, he stole it from my outfit. I did found out later. And anyway, he had this Jeep, so I went over and just stayed with him. He had his own tent, you know, all to himself. And so we just go into town every damn night, you know. He'd go fly his missions and come back, you know, and then we'd go to town at night. Do what.
Now, where was he bombing?
Well, we was bombing at that time around Italy, you know, and where the Germans are in northern Italy. Of course,
Yeah.
we bombed southern Italy when I first got over there because
Right.
the Germans still had it
Right.
before we moved up there. But then it was northern Italy we bombed. So they mostly around Italy and parts of North Africa there. But anyway, that's what he was doing. And come find out, my outfit was escorting his outfit. And so I'd been on missions with him, didn't even know it. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Because when you're doing bomber escort,
yeah, we was escorting his outfit. And we also was going down to Greece some.
and you didn't even find that out till later?
No, not till I met him and found out what outfit he was in. And I said, well, hell, that's the outfit we've been escorting all the time. You know, but I was on Fleet 53 missions.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, come find out that was Uncle Arnold's outfit. Well, anyway, I stayed with him for that 10 days I was off.
Uh-huh.
You know, we'd go back and forth.
That had to be
around.
fun.
Oh, we had a hoop time, I'll tell you. But anyway, then he finished his missions and he went home. Right
Oh, he was about done
He
then.
was about done, yeah. So anyway, he went on home and went on back to Long Beach. And so I went ahead and right after that, we moved up to Italy anyway. When they secured airbase up there in the hill.
So where were you based in Italy?
Well, first place we went was San Pancrazio. There's a little air base, Italian air base. It was a fighter base. And so the fighter outfit was still on the base, you know, the men and everything. So we moved in with them. And we stayed there. We
The
stayed
Italian
there.
fighters?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. In fact, they went on one mission with us. They wanted to do something, you know, so we said, okay, you can fly top cover. We was going over to some little town in Greece, I think, and dive bomb. And so we let them go along and fly top cover. And so that was another experience.
Were they any good?
Well, they had one setting on their throttle, and that was all forward. They went full out all the way. You know, we used fuel control
Right.
and throttle back and going, you know, to the thing so we'd have our planes use a better, get better use out of the fuel.
Right.
But they'd run off and leave us, you know. They're supposed to be top cover, then they'd way out in front. Then they'd turn around and come back and see what the hell we was doing.
What's
Then
taking you so
when we
long?
got back on the ground, they say, well, where the hell's ready you guys? I thought that airplane was fast, you know. I said, well, hell, we use fuel control, you know. We save our fuel. You don't get out and waste it like you guys do. But anyway, we just had that one mission. That was enough for us. He decided they better stay on the ground.
Thought that thing was supposed to be fast.
Yeah. But anyway, we stayed there for about 2 weeks, and then we moved to another base just farther south in the hill, down in a little town of Lecce. And that's where I was when I got shot down.
Oh,
But right after I got shot down, and well, I was shot down December 20th of 43, and then in January 44, well, they moved up to Foggia. Anyway, moved all the people up there. So we occupied all those 11 airfields in Foggia with different
Wow.
units. You know,
Yeah.
we was on Foggia number 11,
yeah.
my outfit. And that's when I came back out of prison camp, and they took us back to the unit. Well, that's where I went.
Oh, then you returned to Foggia.
We were to Foggia. That's when I
Yeah.
stayed with them for 3 or 4 days until we went back over to Naples. They wanted all of us prisoners of war to be in one group when we got on the boat, you know. They wanted to
How
send us
come?
back together for debriefing purposes and everything back in the States. And they wanted us all be together, you know.
What were you doing when you got shot down?
We was escorting B-24s in.
Oh.
So we'd gone, in the meantime, we'd formed the 15th Air Force. And so we was the first units to go on the 15th Air Force. We had 3 bomber units and 3 fighter units. Was the nucleus of the 15th Air Force.
Cool.
And so we was charter members of that outfit too. And because before we had been in the 12th Air Force down the desert.
Ah, okay.
And so we got started 15th Air Force after we got to Italy in November of 43.
Uh-huh.
So we were going at high altitude and escorting B-24s and B-17. In Sofia, and after we come off, we went in over Albania,
Uh-huh.
and going into Sophia. When we come back, but we'd been blown south because the wind was from the north, and all the formation was blown a little bit south after coming off the target.
Okay.
So when we came out, back over to landfall again, or over the Adriatic, well, we was a little bit farther south, and we went in. Well, I didn't think about that, so
Right.
I just took off in the next, and I knew it would take me to the airport.
Right.
But I was going to the middle of the Mediterranean is where I was going. And
Because you
so
forgot.
after a long time, I kept flying over all this damn water. And I knew the Adriatic wasn't but 60 miles wide.
Yeah.
I should have been past that a long time ago. And never dawned on me that I was over the Mediterranean. I don't know why in the hell or
But
not.
all this was so you
All
could
that
sneak
water.
off and have a cigarette?
Yeah, so I could have a cigarette, yeah. I got down by myself. And,
So,
so
when you-
anyway, then I started calling for the radio fix, to steer me to the airport. Well, they could hear me, but I couldn't hear them. So I kept climbing higher and higher and higher, and keep calling, never did. I guess my radio was out on that channel or something anyway. They kept calling me, they could hear me, giving me directions, so how to go, but I never did hear them. So anyway, I finally stumbled up, I saw the mountains up in the north country there, so I went up to see what that was, and it looked like clouds. I thought, didn't know whether it was clouds or land.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, when I got closer, I could see it was mountains, and then I could see the terrain and knew where I was then. It seemed straight. So they'd flown over, all during the time was flying over Sicily. From Sicily had been flying right in that area. So I knew that place real well. But by that time, I didn't have enough gas to make it back to
So when
my
you
unit.
finally get back to your
So
base.
I knew there had been an airport there at Reggio.
Uh-huh.
So what I was trying to do is find that airport and land on it.
Right.
But it had been overgrown and abandoned so much that you couldn't even tell it anymore. It wasn't an airport anymore. And besides that, somebody told me after I landed, they said, well, they cut a ditch across the middle of it anyway. You'd probably ruined your airplane if you'd landed on it, if you'd found it. But I had to find it, so I thought, well, next thing, put it in the water. Because the people was on the beach, and everything, and I probably killed some people or something if I tried to land on the sand. So I just moved out 100 yards off the beach and put her in the water. And so like I said, they come out and pick me up right away.
So you get back to your base, and
Get back to base.
your CO now wants to know
Yeah.
what you've done with his airplane.
Well, no, he knew what I'd done with it. And he knew it was my fault, But anyway, he just asked me if I'd learned to listen. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, your uncle did me a favor one time, so he said, I'll pay you back now. So I feel better about it. So he just let me go, I'll keep going, too.
So you,
So anyway,
You
I
didn't
went
get in
back,
trouble for that,
went
huh?
back flying missions then, and
they just give you a new
until I
plane?
got shot down.
They just give you a new plane?
Oh, sure.
Right.
Give me another plane, yeah. And, but I was flying other people's planes when I got shot down. I wasn't flying my own.
Oh,
I think mine was in for maintenance or something. Anyway, I was flying another plane. After 40 years, I went to a reunion up in Denver.
uh-huh.
This old outfit, the 82nd. And when I first got in there with that bunch, this crew chief came up. He said, "You owe me $120,000." I said, "What?" He said, "That was my airplane you was flying when you shot down." He said, "You never did pay me for that damn." Well, I'm sorry about that. He just lives up here in a little town of Shirks, just out of San Antonio.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah. But I hadn't seen him in 40 years, and the first thing he said, "You owe me $120,000."
He knew exactly who
He knew who I
lost
was,
his plane.
damn right. Tell about getting in the camp even then. Well,
No.
I come down in this hill country just out to the west of Sofia, the town we've been bombing and everything. And a bunch of hill people come down and pick me up. There's all waiting in the trees. They had a complete circle of trees around this field. And I let it was I don't know, plowed field. I don't know what they was doing plowing in December, but it was a plowed field. And pretty soft landing, dirt was soft. So anyway, I hit my parachute in one of the plow grooves and covered it up with dirt, and started walking toward an old barn over an edge of the clearing. And about that time, all the people started coming out of these trees, all the natives. And most of them had guns, of course.
So they'd seen you.
They called them over there the home guard. But everybody was mobilized in the whole country. Anyway, they come on and took me. I could see that there wasn't used to be anything about it, There were about 1,000 of them right there all around me.
Right.
So anyway, they first thing they did was took some old bail wire and tied my hands behind my back, and then they took everything off my pockets and off my wristwatch. Even took my wedding ring, everything else. But see, the Germans had been telling them that everything we had was booby trapped. So there was real careful taking everything off because the fish is gonna blow up.
I know.
So anyway, they did, they took everything, and, looks like, I don't know where the hell they took it, to government office someplace. I
Because
guess.
you were burned, right?
Yeah, I was burned, yeah, around the eyes and the neck and then my wrist. But anyway, they put some sour cream or something, sour milk, when they spread it on there with their hands, and it seemed to ease the pain, and in about 2 weeks it cleared up real good. I didn't get any bandages on it until I got into to the hospital, to the military school where they took me. See, a policeman come after a while and took charge of me there because he was going between from natives to the army, you know.
So once
So
they got
this
you
policeman
down,
come, but then when the policeman got there, he started to put out his hand, you know, to shake, and I started to turn around and show him that our hands were tied behind my back, and he thought I was snubbing him, so he slapped me across the face. And so all the women said, no, you haven't got in there, don't do that, don't do that. And they told him my hands were tied, so then he was kind of sorry about that. But anyway, he took me in the meantime, they had already, like I said, given him all the stuff they took off my body. And they couldn't interrogate me because none of them spoke English here then, and he couldn't either. So he just took me, walked about, it seemed like hell, 10 miles at least, to the train station. And Rosen Road, you know, and my shoes had come off, so I just, my stock feet. So my feet was getting pretty sore by the time I got to the train station.
your shoes come off in
Yeah.
the injection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slippers. And so anyway, after we got to the train station, the train come pretty soon, and we got on the train and took me for a long ride. It seemed like a long time. It was late at night when we got this place we got off, and it was a military school, just on the outside of Tokyo. Out of Sofia. So anyway, I would put me in a cot in a room in there, and woke up the next morning, I was damn sore, because when I bailed out, I was going over 400 miles an hour. And I opened that parachute right away because I didn't know how high I was and how soon I was going to hit the ground.
Right.
So I opened the chute, and so a sudden stop from 400 miles an hour put a strain on your body. Anyway, I was real sore. I couldn't even turn over the bed or anything. I couldn't even move.
Oh.
So every time I had to go to the bathroom, 2 or 3 of them cadets would come in and pick me up and carry me out to the outhouse. It had to be an outhouse, of course, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And so let me do my job out there, and then they carried me back about 2 days, and then after that I got loosened up where I could, kind of move around a little bit. And then, about the 4th day, I think they decided to take me into town. And by then I found out there was another guy from my outfit been shot down. He was in there too, but I didn't know he was there.
On the same mission?
Until we got in the car. Well, yeah, but he was on another squadron, in the same group. But he was on a mission, yeah. But anyway, after we got in the car, then he had a pair of electric boots that we wore with our electric suits, and also a big pair of wool boots. So they made him give me one of his pair of boots, you know, and he wore the other. So he kept the wool-lined boots because it did winter, you know, and give me the one with electric boots, but it was better than stocking feet. You know.
Well, yeah.
So anyway, we went on in town that way, and they went by the hospital, and they put some bandage and dressing on my burns, which, you know, they thought ought to have, and then took us up to a jail right there in town. Because of what jail they use for political prisoners. And so got in there, and it was all in solitary cells, you know, we was in ourselves. And so I knew that one guy, Tim, with me was there. But after the second day, I heard this guy singing or talking to the guards outside when he go to the bathroom. And I couldn't see out where his school was, but I knew that voice. He was a kid out of my squadron from Georgia. You know, you couldn't mistake his accent.
Right.
But anyway, I knew he was in there, and it turned out he was right in the next cell to me. So, to let him know that I knew he was there, I started singing Georgia on My Mind, you know. And I was singing that damn thing all day long, you know. And then later on, after we got taken out there, he was going to take us up to the prison camp. I asked him, you know, if he knew what I was trying to do. He said, yeah, I think so. I knew what you were trying to do, but I hate that damn song. I said, well, that's okay. He knew what I was doing.
As long as you knew what I was trying to do.
Yeah, right. As long as you knew what I was trying to do, that's amazing. But he said, I always hated that damn song. But anyway, then we took us, gathered up some more of them and put on a train. And sent us on up to, we picked up guys out of hospitals and other places around town. But they've been keeping from the bomber crews that have been falling over the Danube River and down in Romania and Bulgaria. So anyway, we had quite a few put on the train. I'd say there must have been at least 25, 30 of us. But there's only those 3 fighter pilots, and the rest of them was all bomber crew.
I noticed that from your diary.
So anyway,
most of the guys were bomber
And
craft.
then we rode the train up to someplace. We got off and went to spend the night some little cabin someplace. And the next day we got back on the train and went on over to Schumann on the east side of the country. It was about 40 miles in from the Black Sea. That's where this little town was. So then we got off the train and they marched us up the hill about 4 miles to where the prison camp was. And then the other guys that had been knocked down on August 1st, they was all in there in the week. But then anyway, all of us together, and then a few that come later in January, made up to 50 that was there most of the time, you know. And we was there by ourselves for a long time until they started bombing Ploesti every day in the summertime, and then we'd get more prisoners almost daily. But for that long period of time through spring, there was just 50 of us was always in there. And finally we ended up at 250 total.
Oh, wow.
Some of them just fairly recent.
Yeah.
But anyway, when they finally decided to give up, well, it was September the 8th of 44. Yeah, they come up and said, well, so the Russian advance party is in town already, taking over the utilities and the radio station. And he said the Russian army is ready to come in just any minute. He said if they get a hold of you guys, said you'll probably never see your homeland again. So we're going to take you out right now, put you on the train, and get you out of here. You know, at least they did that for us. So we marched back down the hill and picked up everything you want to take with you. You didn't have much really. Everybody took a little something. Except this one kid, he had just bought a brand new 5-gallon Demijohn of whiskey. He said, I'm not going to leave it for them bastards to drink, so you're going to take it with him. That's all he took, is that 5-gallon. And the thing weighed more than he did, you know, for a little bitty guy. So we helped him carry it. He put it on the train, so we all nipped on that after we got on the train and had it all. But anyway, we got out of Schumann real
He's
quick
like
because
5 gallons of whiskey.
they
That's all
didn't
he
want
took.
the Russian army to get a hold of us. So anyway, we went on the way, was going to Sofia. That's what it said. Going to Sofia, going to meet somebody else, and they're going to take us off to do something. Anyway, it was supposed to be about 2 or 3 days in Sofia on that train. But anyway, we was going along. Like I said, we was nipping on this 5-gallon thing of whiskey, and all of us was pretty high, you know, having a ball. In fact, one guy was in this netting where he had the baggage, you know. He was trying to sleep in there, and he rolled out of the netting, y'all. I don't know how the hell he rolled out of it.
Not easy.
Oh, that's right. Anyway, he fell on the floor. And anyway, we come to this little station, and they stopped the train, you know, for a little bit. And two of these guys were all drunked up, you know. But they was able to navigate, so they wandered off the train to this little station that was right there in the town on the other side. And they was kind of looking around the town, I guess. I don't know what they were doing over there. But anyway, while they was gone, the train left. And left them back to their station. Always all worried to death, you know, damn. Because there was strangers in a strange country, no money, no nothing, you know, didn't know this language. And we didn't know what the hell they was going to do. Well, unbeknownst to any of us, when we got up to the next station, they got word from headquarters to turn the train around and take us down to Turkey instead of in Sofia. So they turned the train around, went back down and stopped at that same little station, you know. And these guys come wandering through the station on the train and never even know it'd been gone. We'd been gone 3 hours, and they didn't know it. They'd come back on the train, they'd happy as hell.
Ready to go.
Didn't know how close they come to getting completely stranded, boy, in that big country. Anyway, we went on down then on the train into Turkey. And when we come to the border, there was a river crossing, there was a bridge, a railroad bridge. So we looked, it slowed down real slow, just barely a crawl across there. And then we looked out, and on this end, there was 2 riflemen laying on their belly, right here, with the guns pointed right straight down the track. On the other side, the same thing. Then we got on the other side of the river, and there was 2 more, and 4 more over there doing the same thing. And if anything had left that train, a package or a person or a body, anything, they'd have left that train, they would shot it. Because they didn't want anybody going back and forth across the border. So I suppose that the 2 on this side was from Bulgaria and the 2 was from Turkey on that side. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool.
Watching that border
Yeah.
pretty close.
Yeah. So anyway, then we went on down, and we started picking up, after we got in Turkey, we started picking up these military attachés from the embassy, and it escorted us in their district. Well, after about the third one, they all had the same name, same last name. And we got to wonder, well, what the hell's going on, you know? And so we asked this third guy, I said, you know, we noticed all you guys got the same name. I said, what's the deal? He said, well, our dad was in the Foreign Service, all in this area of the world, in the Near East here, and he said, we was raised here. So we speak the language fluently. There's 5 brothers. And he said, after when the war broke out, so they put us all in the military as diplomatic military attachés, and stationed us right here since we was familiar with the territory and the language and everything else. And so all of them down the line, there were 5 of them in a row, all the same brothers,
Amazing.
all attachés. Yeah, we thought that was kind of cool, didn't we?
Yeah.
But then we went down into Syria and got off the train. By that time, well, I'll take it back. Going through Turkey, we stopped in Istanbul for the night. But see, Turkey was neutral, so we couldn't touch the ground. If we had touched the ground, we'd have been interned, because it's one of the rules of law.
Okay.
So anyway, what they did was they backed these buses up right up to the train, and we stepped off the train on the bus. All of us, all the buses that they had lined up. They took us down to the port, and then we stepped off on a ladder and went down into a boat. And we got down in this boat, and we went out to a liner that was anchored out in the harbor. It was a passenger liner. And so all of us got on that and spent the night on this passenger liner. Here we had tablecloths and silverware and china on the table, and the guy, we couldn't believe it.
Wow.
But anyway, all the good night's sleep and everything, good meals on the ship and the whole bit. And then the next day we reversed the process and got back on the train.
But as long as you didn't
But
touch
as
the
long as
ground.
we didn't touch the ground, it was all right. Just, you know, Syria.
Uh-huh.
I went down into Cairo, never stayed there about a week, trying to get new clothes, because we're still in our prisoner war clothes, you know. We hadn't changed clothes or anything. Except that one guy bailed out with all the clothes he had, and he had to change costumes every day, you know, uniforms. He was one of the Yugoslavs.
Who's this?
One of the Yugoslavs.
Uh-huh.
Every mission, he took everything he owned. He had a whole briefcase full of money he'd been saving, and his V4 bag full of clothes. He'd take them with him on the missions.
So when he
had to
bailed out,
when he had to bail out, he had the briefcase in one hand and the V4 bag in the other. And then he didn't know which one to drop to pull the ripcord. You know, and he was really going through a fight with himself there to see which one he wanted to turn loose at.
so he's got a full ripcord.
So he dropped the clothes down there. He went too far high. He went too high anyway. So he dropped the clothes, pulled the ripcord out, and come down okay. And then he hid the money. And he went found his B4 bag, so he had his clothes with him.
Okay.
But he hid the money, and I don't care what back and got it or not, but he said he remembered where he hid it. But anyhow, in the prison camp, he had to change the uniforms every day. You know, he was always wearing different uniforms. Bring all his clothes with him.
So he had plenty of clothes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well. But everybody else was in the same clothes he got shot down in, you know, didn't have to change. Except for him. But anyway, like I said, we got new clothes. They give us old fatigue uniforms, you know, to wear just for a clean pair of clothes. They had to go through a deglassing process.
Right.
And they give us a partial pay, just, you know, to have some money to walk around with. And then they debriefed us, you know, for all the time we was there. Then they took us on a tour around the pyramids and the Sphinx and, you know, did some other things for us. So anyway, then the 15th Air Force sent planes, the B-24s down from Italy and picked us all up and flew us back to Italy.
Okay.
We flew into headquarters at Bari, and then the units come in and picked everybody up and took them back to the unit. So we got to go stay with the people in the unit for 3 or 4 days. But then they wanted us all to go over to Naples and collect over there to get ready to get on a boat and go home. But we had to wait there for, about, I'd say a week and a half, to get a boat big enough for all 250 people, you know, because they wanted us all to stay together. And that's why they couldn't fly us back, because it was just too damn many.
Right.
So they waited for a boat that would take all of us. So we finally got one and got on the boat. But in the meantime, while we were just waiting around, we could do anything we wanted to do. So we went up to Rome a couple times. That's when I went through the Vatican the first time, 44.
Okay.
We just went around up there. We'd hitchhike up to Rome, you know.
So when in 44 was it?
Well, that was in October, September and October.
Okay.
Because we got out to the 8th of September. So.
So war's pretty much over.
Yeah, most of it, yeah. There was damn little war left,
Yeah.
really. But they were still doing some fighting, still losing some people, you know. But anyway, then we got on the boat, come home, took us 10 days to get back to Newport News, Virginia. where we stayed for another week, getting more debriefings, and they brought all our pay up to date. You know, just
Okay.
went back to our pay records, brought everything, and went through the partial pay, of course, we had gotten in Cairo, and then they paid us the rest. So I forget how much I got, $1,500, around $2,000 on it, back taken.
Seemed like a lot of time.
Oh, a lot of times it's beautiful, yeah. So anyway, then after we got through the processing there, then they put us on a train and sent us to our different stations around the country where we was going for reassignment. So I had to go to Little Rock, Arkansas,
Oh,
kept checking.
oh, okay.
So we rode a train down there, and after we got my assignment, they wanted to send me to Florida, you know. But your mom and Stan was living in Long Beach at the time. I went and told them, I said, hell, I can't go to Florida. I said, my family's out in Long Beach. I said, send me out to L.A., you know, where they got another assignment center. Well, I said, okay, you know, I finally convinced them that I should be with my family.
But
So
through all,
they changed my orders and said, what was the worst damn thing is when we went from Newport News, went to get on the train,
uh-huh.
and they were gonna send us, you know, to our different stations. I walked past the, you know, the air-conditioned Pullman cars. And I said, boy, this is gonna be nice, you know, traveling and everything, but we walked right on past the Pullmans, you know. We got into the day coach area. Oh, I said, that's not too bad, you know. Well, we walked past the day coach area and got down some damn old World War I cattle cars that they had put on the end of the train down there. That had nailed some bunks in it, you know, 3 bunks on this end, 3 on this end, and a big old wood stove right in the middle. But the slats, you know, on the side, you could see outside, it's wintertime, it's cold, October.
And that was,
Yeah, so anyway, we asked the conductor, said, you know, what the hell's the Pullman for up there? He said, oh, they're for the German prisoners. Yeah, all right.
no.
Yeah. German prisoners of war got the Pullman cars and we got the damn old cattle car. But anyway, we took it and said, what the hell, we're glad to be back anyway.
That's what they did to you?
Yeah. So anyway, we got back to Arkansas and went through another debriefing and found out, you know, where you wanted to go and finally got your orders to go to this reassignment station.
Uh-huh.
And so I told them I wanted to go to California State, got my orders to go out to Long Beach. And, or Malibu, wherever the hell it was, West LA anyway, Santa Monica, that's it. So, anyway, when I got through with that, well, I wanted to get up to Oklahoma to see the folks, you know.
Well, yeah.
And so real quick, so there wasn't any way to get home real fast, except by bus or something like that. And it'd be a long time getting up there, so me and this other kid, with all this money in the pocket, we went out and chartered a plane, heading flights to Tulsa. And he was from Osage County too, you know. So,
And you're both loaded with cash.
yeah, that's it. So anyway, we went out and got that airplane and flew us to Tulsa and we got off and then I went to spend the night in Tulsa because I was pretty tired at that time. He said, well, he was gonna go on, he got on the bus, went on home. So anyway, next morning I went down and bought a car. I had one from one I knew what to do it anyway. Bought that old 51 or 41 Chevy. And
Now, was this your first?
that was my first car, yeah.
First car as a
Yeah,
married
you bet,
adult.
boy. You're not kidding. First one. So anyway, I drove that up, busking this folks and everything, stayed for a few days. And then they wanted to go to California with me, so we jumped in the car and took off. Went down to see all the relatives on the way, you know. Took us 3 or 4 days to get to California. Because we were stopping to see people, you know. And everything.
Right.
And I had to go through Crane, visit all the relatives down there, your mama's relatives, you know.
Right.
Show them I was back and everything was all right.
Now, this is about when?
So, this was the end of October, or first part of October of 44.
Okay, so the
No,
war-
wait a minute, don't remind me, because Jody was born November the 10th,
Uh-huh.
and he was born right after I left us. Before I got to California, he was born. So,
And that's Sally's joke.
that was Sally's Jody.
Yeah.
So anyway, then when we got out there, we finally had a help time finding your mama's house. And, because she was living with Uncle Stan, and her mom was out there keeping house for Stan, see, Nonna. So, well, he was gone all the time because he was in Fair Command by that time. He was flying airplanes all over the damn world, you know. He was gone. So she stayed there and kept the house for him. So Mom went out and just moved in with her, to Stan. So anyway, we pulled in out there and finally found him. So then me and your mama started to go on a honeymoon we never had. So we left him to the house, you know, with Stan and the folks
Mm-hmm.
and Nonna. And so we went on downtown to got in a hotel, just stayed a couple days, enjoyed ourselves.
Now, the war in the Pacific's still going on, though.
Oh, yeah, it's going on, yeah, this, like I said, this is, November 44th. So it's still going on, yeah, you bet.
So you still are expecting some sort
Well,
of
the
active
war in
assignment?
Europe is still going on, because it wasn't over until May of 45.
Okay.
See, the war in Europe didn't end until May of 45. So the war in Europe and the war in the Pacific War was going on. But I just had to go to this reassignment center, and they kept you there for, well, yeah, I think 2 weeks. Just to,
Doing nothing.
giving you good meals and, showing you around town and stuff like that. Which I didn't participate in most of it because I wanted to get back with the family, So
Right.
I'd just come up there and hear what they had to say, and then I'd go back home. And so anyway, I got through that, and they signed me as Van Nuys. That's where I wanted to go. They said you can go just about anywhere you want to go. So I would like Van Nuys real good.
How come they were being so accommodating?
Well, it was just prisoner of war, trying to do something nice for you, finally.
Yeah.
So anyway, I said, well, I want to go to Van Nuys, because they still had Peter H.
Great.
And so,
And
they
so there
sent
were-
me to Van Nuys.
So you were able to get a stateside assignment even though the war was still active?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, well, I couldn't go back over to Europe because I was a prisoner, registered prisoner. So if I'd have been captured again, I'd have been shot as a spy. So that was another part of the Geneva Convention rules. You couldn't go back to the same theater of war once you was captured as a spy and registered. Now some guys went down and shot down, but they escaped and never was registered as a prisoner. So when they got back to the unit, they could go ahead and fly combat because they weren't registered prisoners.
But if you're,
But once you was a prisoner of war, legitimate, then you couldn't go back to that theater. You'd go to the Pacific or someplace,
yeah,
couldn't go back there. So I couldn't go back that way anyway.
okay.
But anyway, they sent me to, well, first I went to Luke. And I told them I didn't like Luke as a damn training base, and I didn't like it. And so I stayed there a couple of months, and they said, well, they come out with this rule, you could go anywhere in the United States you want, one transfer.
Okay.
So I said, okay, send me back to Van Nuys. I like it better there.
Okay.
Because Mom was still in Long Beach anyway.
Right, well that makes.
I was over at Luke by myself. So I went back over there to California and
What they have
stayed
you
until I
doing?
got out. Huh?
What the hell you doing?
Well, I was flying PTRH until we got rid of them. Then I was the base operations officer, or I was the instrument instructor. Because they sent me, when I first got there, they sent me to instrument school
Oh,
down at Ryan, Texas. So I was down there for a month. And then when I got back, then they put me in charge of the instrument training.
oh,
So that's what I was doing for the rest of the time until I got out.
Okay.
So I got out in November 45. Went to the separation center, but by that time Bill was born.
right.
He was born November 5th. So I didn't want to take him so young. So we stayed there until about the middle of December. Let him get 6 weeks old. So we figured we'd travel better.
Right.
So about the middle of December, we took off to Texas. Bought an old trailer, put it behind the car, put all our stuff in there, took off, went back to Crane, back to work for Gulf,
Oh, okay.
but I was sent to Goldsmith then. So we still just had Stan and Bill. Bill was pretty young.
But for now, for you.
Well,
the
see, that was
war's over.
46, January 46 I got out, signed up to Goldsmith. So anyway, Bill was only less than 3 years old, he was only 2 and a half. Less than 2 and a half years old by that time. So anyway, we stayed, your mama had an aunt, had some rent houses down there in South Florida, Odessa.
Uh-huh.
So we rented one of them little huts, for the time being until we could get a company house at Goldsmith. And we didn't get one of them till June. So the first 6 months we had to live, I'd drive back and forth from Odessa. Oh. But then, after we got a company house, then we lived out there and everything was fine. But then we started having other kids, that's when Big Jim was born.
Right.
Was out there at Goldsmith, and then in 51, Korea come along in 1950, when they called my reserve unit back into service. That was the 3rd time I'd been in service. And so I said, well, they're trying to tell me something, so this time I just stayed. Said that was the 3rd time I was in the service,
Uh-huh.
so I figured they was trying to tell me something, and I just stayed. And so, like I said, from San Angelo, I went to Japan and stayed by myself 14 months before you guys got over there. Well, in the meantime, Patricia Ann had been born. You were born, well, not before I left. And Patricia Ann was born while I was gone, July 30th of 53. So I had to come back on emergency leave and attend the funeral and everything. So then I went back to Japan after a month's leave and waited until you got from housing, so you could come over there. So you guys got over there in March of 54.
Came by boat.
Came by boat. Come into Yokohama. And so I went down, come in on a train, met you at the port. And we got on a train and rode back down to Nagoya. And then when the car came in on another boat, well, I had to go back on myself and pick it up and drive it back down to Nagoya.
So you had our car shipped from the States?
Yeah, we had our car shipped from States, yeah. We're out of San Francisco. So anyway, we got that, and then we lived in Gifu there from, that was March of 54 until February 55, almost a year. There's a Gifu. And so then we was called back to the head officer in Yokota. And that was in February of 55. And so I stayed there at Yokota until we came home in July of 56. By the time we went to Sioux City, Iowa.
Right.
So we stayed there from Sioux City from in August of 56 we got back there until July 59. But we was transferred up to Great Falls or to Glasgow, Montana.
Right.
So we
Well, this time
went on
we
leave
got
and we went on leave in July 59. Went down to Louisiana to visit Nick and his family and everything, and stayed there for a few days. And then went back up to Huskin, visited Sally, and then back up to Longmont, visited Dad and Ogledy, and then went on into Montana.
This was one of those drive around in the station
Was
wagons.
taking leave while we was going up to the new station.
Okay.
So we got up there, and first part of August of 59, and had a brand new house. And everything was new housing, with a brand new base. So we got moved in, moved in furniture, and that's mud. The house was terrible with. Mom had to clean the hell out of the muddy floor before we put any rugs down or anything. So anyway, we finally got everything moved in, and we stayed there for a year until July of 60, when I was transferred over to Great Falls to help them out with their new airplane, the 101 movement flying. And so we stayed there then until I got sent down to Kansas City. But while we was at Great Falls, we took a couple of trips, in the summer. Went camping,
But
6 kids in a station wagon.
I kind of remember some of those.
Well, that's when you got stung on the nose with that bee there in New Mexico, at that lake.
Yeah.
That staying in fact, I was just leaving the next morning, and that bee flew in the back window and stung you on the nose. Anyway, that was in New Mexico, but we just on vacation then from Montana.
Didn't we do some camping and trout fishing?
Oh yeah, Oak Creek Canyon, just out Flagstaff.
Oak Creek Canyon.
Yeah, that's our favorite place is Oak Creek Canyon. We like that. First time I was ever stayed a week. That's where Mike caught the fish, the trout on it, with a piece of Velveeta cheese on the hook. Yeah. So he wanted Mama to fry it right now, or clean it and fry it. So he had fish for supper.
And we were just camping out of
Yeah,
the
just
car.
right on, just on the ground, laying on the ground, sleeping bags. Well, Mama and Lisa slept inside on a prayer mattress in the back of the station wagon, but we all slept on the ground. It was a lot of fun. Anyhow, then in 1961, I was transferred to Kansas City in Division headquarters. And so your Mama stayed, and you guys stayed in Great Falls to sell the house, because we bought a house in the town. So I was down at Kansas City by myself for a while until you sold the house, and then you all came down there. That's where we lived in, out there just outside the base.
Big
Then
old,
we got a house on the base.
a big old duplex, right?
Yeah, big old duplex, yeah,
Yeah.
2-story. Anyway, we got a house on the base, and then about a week later, I got orders to go overseas. But in the meantime, Grandpa died, so we had to go down to the funeral. We left you guys. We took Mike and Lisa, or no, we took Lisa with us. We left all the rest of you there, and people watch out for you while we was going at Kansas City. So anyway, we went to the funeral, because I was running McClure's, getting ready to leave the base, when Dad died.
Right.
So I had to get other people to do a lot of work for me while I was gone, because I had to go to the funeral. So they understood everything. This guy, see, we had to go to Washington to go to school, for going over to foreign country, military systems.
Uh-huh.
So we had to go study the country, you know, and protocol and stuff, and the do's and don'ts,
Right.
everything in their culture and stuff. So we stayed up there a month in Washington D.C. going to school for that. So anyway, in the meantime, I just got back from the funeral and I jumped on the plane and went up to Washington. Because the guy run my clearance in the meantime so I could get off the base. Because a friend of mine was going with me. When he run his clearance, he run mine at the same time.
Well, this was all pretty hectic time.
Oh yeah, it's hectic. But anyway, got through the school in Washington, come back, and then we had to pack and was on orders to go to Africa. So we all piled in the car and took off for Africa then.
I remember that.
Now you remember that. You just get days in where you can remember a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I remember that long flight over there. And where did we stop? The Azores?
Well, no,
Where did our flight stop?
yeah, the Azores going over.
Yeah.
We're coming back. Going over, we just stopped. We went straight to Madrid from Charleston, South Carolina. But coming back, we was in a prop plane, so we stopped at the Azores on the way back.
That's the flight I remember.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
But going over, we was in a jet, and so we went all the way to Madrid. And then we stopped for fuel, and then went on to Tripoli from there.
Okay.
But coming back, then we had to stop at the Azores and going into the United States. Stop in Madrid again,
Yeah.
then the Azores, and then back in the States. Long time at a prop job, though, I tell you.
Oh, man.
Forever. Anyway, we was all tired and beat by the time we got back. But our car was there at the same time we were. We set the car on ahead. And so the car was waiting for us when we got there.
Alright.
So at least we had transportation.
Alright.
But we got into Cherokee, North Carolina, and was leaving there, going up the mountain, and the dadgum transmission blew.
I remember that
Remember
too.
the smoke coming out of the damn engine and
I
everything.
do.
I tell you, piled kids out of that car all
We
sides.
went piling out of that car.
Little old two-lane highway in the mountains, crooked as hell anyway. Bumper to bumper traffic, and there we blew up the damn traffic.
And smoke that's coming out from under the dash.
Man, oh man, I don't know how people ever got around us. Well, we pulled off as far as we could go, because there wasn't any place to go. We were just
Mess.
right there. But anyway, it held the traffic for a while, but they started going around us, and worked out a system, they got around. But then the wrecker come to get us, and I don't know how in the world, he got up there with all that traffic and turned us around in that little road and headed back downtown. But he did, he got us around there, took us in town.
That was cheap to get
It took
fixed
about
up.
3 days to get that transmission fixed.
You know what? I remember us being stuck in that.
Yeah, we was in a motel there.
Motel.
Yeah. And, well, just had one restaurant open that we could
Right.
eat at. Everybody else had closed up for the season.
That's
Had
right.
one restaurant open, so we was able to get something to eat. But, we waited for that guy to fix the transmission. Then, oh, we had a hurry trip, because we was running late.
Now we're late.
Always late. So we went all the way to West Memphis, Arkansas from Cherokee, North Carolina, before we stopped at the motel.
Uh-huh.
And of course, that's where the damn radiator hose had a hole in it and leaked all our fluid out. So we had to spend time getting that thing fixed. And that's when they're called Black Sunday. Because man, it was Sunday morning, and I went down this. Me and your mom got up real early, so we was going to get an early start because we had to make Tulsa or Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we went down this little restaurant, got some coffee that was open, and I noticed there was a filling station right next door that was open. So anyway, when I got back to the motel, we noticed that the fluid was coming out of the engine port. And I looked under there and saw that hole in the air conditioner belt, and rubbed a hole in one of the hoses. So I said, oh crap, gotta go get a hose. So I said, well, that station's open there next to that cafe. I'll go down and get a hose and put it on right quick. It'll take long. So I said, you get the kids ready and get everything packed up, and said, we'll throw it on top when I get back and we'll go. So I went back down there and the guy said, well, that's a special hose. It's one of them S-shaped hoses to get around the air conditioner belt. He said, I don't care. But he said, the Chevrolet garage is right across the street there. He said, they're going to open at 7:45. He said, if you pull over there now and you get first in line, he said, boy, you get your weight on real quick. So I said, okay. So hell, I went over and waited till 7:45. Come sure enough, the door went up. I pulled in to the garage, worked in one of the stalls, told him my problem. He said, oh, that's no problem. We'll get it fixed right away. So he did. He went and got a hose, put on there, boy, and had me going. Wasn't 15, 20 minutes. I was ready to go.
Uh-huh.
So I said, well, I'd like to pay you, so I can get on the road. He said, well, I've already sent your bill to the office. They have one of the vacuum mechanisms, to take the bill over. He said, you can go over there and tell the girl, and pay her, so that's okay. So I walked all the way across the new maintenance shop, went into the office, locked. And, so, said it didn't open till 8 o'clock. So I said, wait till 8 o'clock, and the girl come and opened the office. I told her, look, I'm trying to get out of here, and I got a ticket over there in that thing, and I said, I'd like to pay it and get going. She said, well, says, I'm sorry, but said the sales manager's got the key to the safe, and I can't take any money until he gets out. I said, where's he? He said, in a sales meeting. He's in a meeting, he'll be out at 9 o'clock. I said, yeah, dang, I couldn't believe it. So anyway, I waited till he get there, and boy, I paid them guys fast now. Run back to the motel as fast as I could, boy, and threw the stuff on top of that thing, threw you guys in the back. And we took off from the motel around on that freeway, you know. Ended up going right back to Memphis. On the Mississippi River Bridge, and the truck bumper was, traffic was bumper to bumper, and I couldn't get turned around. You know.
Figured out you're going the wrong way.
Finally I saw a gap in the traffic coming the opposite way. And there was a median in the middle of the bridge, you know, just about this damn high. So I told you kids, hang on, you know, when I saw that gap moving towards me. Well, when it got to me, man, I went over that damn median. The front went way up, you know, come down, bam, on that median. Then the back wheels hit, the back went up, bam, kid was flying all over the back seat. And I thought, oh God, I just ruined the underneath part of my car altogether. You know, I feel everything was bad. So I said, I'm not going to stop and look at it until I get to Tulsa. So we just kept going. But fortunately, it didn't do anything. We just scraped the frame, you know, a little bit.
So
But we was going the right way.
this was
People down there in them other cars thought I was crazy as hell.
in the middle of the bridge.
Middle of the
Mississippi
Mississippi
River.
River Bridge, boy, I was going the wrong way. I was such a hurry to get back on that freeway, I went wrong, took the wrong turn.
This was Black Sunday.
Oh, Black Sunday, that's it, man. Never forget it. Anyway, we finally made it down Sally's all right.
So that's where we were headed that night.
Yeah, that's where we're going, so we made it all the way. It's all been a good life so far.
Bringing umpteen kids around.
You bet. I enjoyed it. Especially when people stand around looking at us pop out of that station wagon from all sides, all windows and doors. You opened the door of that thing and kids just exploded out all around. Neighbors just stand around and just stand in awe, you know.
Grandpa's
Can't believe they had
fault.
as many kids in there to start with, you know.
Are y'all about through with your taping?
Yeah, just about.
Have you got come to be
We
in?
retired now,
We're retired. Yep.
up to the point where everybody knows what's going on.
Well, you haven't said when you met me.
Tell the best part.
That's the best part. Yeah, 1986 and 85, I'll never forget it.
This is the Edge Trail.
Meantime, I met my wife Beatrice, and things have been heavenly ever since.
Okay.
Yeah, talk about a happy ending. That's it.